Welcome, everybody. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the 2021 Camp Symposium. We're really glad to have you all here today. Looks like we have 79 people in here now. We'll hopefully double that number as we go along. So welcome to the 2021 Camp Symposium. My name is Bryant Tan, also known as, or better known as Level. I'm the City Planning and Placement Manager for Black Rock City. I'd love to see where you all are from and who all of you are. Everyone's gonna be muted for now, so if you wanna put in chat your name, your camp, where you currently reside or are hailing from, that would be wonderful. I wanna thank you all for taking this time out on a Saturday to come here and connect with your fellow theme camp leaders and burners from around the globe. We know that there are probably many things that you could be doing right now, especially if the part of the world that you're in is opening up. So I appreciate that we're all here to get to learn from each other and to connect even more. I see folks are already sharing who you are and where you're from. So hello to all of you. I also want to thank the camp support team off the bat. They are the fantastic producers and volunteers behind today's event. We did our best to make sure that things are interesting and engaging. And there wasn't a question in our minds whether we should hold the symposium this year, even without building Black Rock City. The camp community is year round, and the support that this team is trying to offer you is year round. So we're also trying to do a few new things this year, which I'll walk you through in a minute to try to mix things up. Okay, looks like we're already at 90, so folks are rolling in. Welcome everyone that's joining us now. So needless to say, we are all under extraordinary conditions still during this global pandemic. When we held the symposium last March, we had just gone under lockdown in San Francisco and in many parts of the world. And I remember thinking, you know, I could do this for a couple months. I can just stay at home, hunker down, it'll be great. Watch some Netflix. Those early days, I also remember really being grateful for being a burner and having all the supplies that you need or that I needed to survive in Black Rock City right at my fingertips. Felt like I could survive an apocalypse. And here we are over a year later and we're still in this pandemic. So I wanted to acknowledge and take this minute to acknowledge that it's affected all of our lives, and there were probably not many degrees removed from some real loss. I personally myself have lost a couple family members who passed away from COVID, unfortunately. So I wanted to just take a moment of silence to remember that this is a very real thing that we're in, that we all have been really resilient, and that hopefully that light that we're beginning to see at the end of this tunnel continues to grow for all of us. So I'm just gonna count to 10 in my head and rejoin us. All right, thank you for joining me in that. So the Camp Symposium today is about connection, and it's about learning, and it's about sharing. And I want to start things off just with some polling to engage you a little bit. We want to know how your camps have stayed connected during this past year, during this pandemic. You know, people have been socially distanced, physically distanced. Camp members are from all around the world. So the first question that I want to share is, how are your camps doing and what have you been doing during this time? The responses here aren't exhaustive, but are a little bit of what we know some people are doing. And if you have a creative way that your camp has been connecting, please share that in chat. You know, we might get an idea out that none of us has tried yet. So please fill out that poll. You know, you can choose more than one answer. I'll give it about 30 seconds for you to choose some responses. All right, I see folks are still rolling in. If you are just joining us, we are taking a poll to see how your camps have been connecting during this pandemic. Please also introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know who you are, what your camp you're with, and where you are coming from.
that the 74% of people who responded said we've kept in touch over Zoom or virtually.
Great.
And I'd say next would be some in-person gatherings at about 33%. And then kept in touch earlier on, but have cooled it at 21, and the rest are about 10% of folks with other ways of staying connected.
All right, thank you, Justin, for jumping in and helping me see that. Great. I know that it's been, we've all been trying to figure out how to grasp onto connection in this time. So I know this is one way through Zoom and through virtual means. Seems like a lot of people have tried that out. And so thank you again for showing up today to do that with your fellow camp leaders. Another question that I want to throw out there before we move on with our program is asking you, what are you planning to do this year? We know that folks aren't going to be building Black Rock City, but there are other alternatives out there. So we're kind of curious. I know there are some rumblings about going out to the Black Rock Desert at different times of the year. So our next poll is going to be asking that. So give me 1 second to pull it up. The question is your camp planning to visit the Black Rock Desert this year? No, maybe, or yes during Burn Week, or yes outside of Burn Week. Let us know how that looks. I'm gonna call on Justin again, if you could help read out the responses. I'm having a little technical challenge myself.
Yeah, no problem. The results of this is your camp planning to visit the Black Rock Desert this year. We have 54% of the respondents saying no, 24% at maybe, 22% yes during Burn Week, and 7% yes outside of Burn Week.
All right, well, that's really telling. We hope if you are making it out there that you're being wonderful stewards of the land and showing it how burners can do it and leave no trace. If you're not, fantastic. You know, there are lots of other ways we love to talk about throughout the rest of this day about how people are coming together. So I'm gonna close that poll and talk a little bit about how today's gonna work. So Heis, if you could pull up the navigation. Most of you got here through a screen on Kindling that looks much like this. It is about how to get around. There is a plenary session that is scheduled until 1 o'clock. We all are here today, but we also have 2 breakout sessions in the afternoons. If you ever get lost, if you ever get logged off, please go back to this navigation page, click on the appropriate icon, and it'll get you where you need to go. The 2 features that I wanted to point out that are a little new and different that we want to try out today are, first is the lobby feature. So the lobby is a space, a virtual space that is hosted by Topia that we are trying out as a way to create a lobby in lieu of a real lobby. In lieu of, you know, if we're in a conference center or a hotel where you can kind of just walk around and bump into other people and find ways to connect that way. There are breaks built in between each of the sessions that we're holding today. So I really invite people to join that lobby and to check it out. You know, it might, hopefully, sometimes it'll be empty, sometimes there'll be more people. I also encourage folks at the very end of today, we'll wrap up around 4:15 Pacific time. If you wanna just go over there, grab a drink and make a buddy, that's a great way to participate there. The next thing is what we're calling the unconference. Here on the screen, you see it on the far right. I'm actually going to share my screen now to show what that's going to look like. It's going to take you to a board that is hosted by a program called Miro. And it looks like some folks are already in here, so I think that's really fantastic. What we've created is basically a series of Post-it notes here and some sections on this page that allow you to post messages to each other. So this yellow Post-it area is called I want to host a talk about something today. If you zoom in, you'll see that there's instructions here in this little white box that will tell you how to basically write a post-it. So you can click on this post-it, fill it out, follow those instructions, and you can potentially host a talk today. We also wanted to give people a space to talk about other things. So if you want to collaborate on a project in 2021, this purple space is for that. If you also want to combine resources for Black Rock City 2022, a big effort that we're going to be working on and talking about today is about sustainability. There are things you want to share, and pool resources around this green area is a great way to start posting things. And finally, this blue posted area is around connecting in the default world that are regionally. We know that there's a regional network, but maybe you're not that tapped into it, and maybe you just need to know if there's someone else in your area. I'm going to zoom into this person's because there's already someone that did that. Oh, Brian is from Austin, Texas. So maybe there's another person in Austin, maybe there's another camp in Texas. Feel free to go over here, copy that information, but really use this as a message board throughout the day to connect with one another. So like I said, we were trying to think of different ways that people could engage, not just sit in front of a camera and listen to people talk. So I hope these additional ways are ways you can connect. So the last thing I want to talk about is today's schedule, and we'll have a screen to show about what that looks like. We have a plenary shared today that is going on from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time, 1 to 4 Eastern time. There is a built-in break where nothing's going to be happening. So if you need to grab a bite, go for a walk, make a stretch happen, that's going from 1 to 1:30 or 4 to 4:30 Eastern time. And then we have 2 breakout sessions. There's 15 minutes in between them. Breakout 1 is happening from 1:30 to 2:45. They're each an hour and 15 minutes. There are 6 breakouts in breakout 1 that are happening concurrently, and there are 5 concurrently happening in breakout 2. So go to that navigation page that we showed you earlier on Kindling, and you can click away and you can jump around from room to room. We do recommend that you try to stick around so that you get enough content to be able to participate. But if you're really interested in more than one thing, feel free to jump around. All right, so that's enough of my babbling for now. Thank you all for listening. I wanted to now hand it over to 2 of our leaders of Burning Man Project and Black Rock City, who are here and excited to welcome you all to today and talk about how to engage in 2021. So I'm gonna pass it over to Marian Goodell, our Chief Engagement Officer, and Charlie Dolman, who is our Event Operations Director.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Charlie. Good to see your face. Wow, everybody, like 130 folks here. Nice to see you all. And wow, what a year and then some. What are we in, Charlie? I think month 15 or so. Oh my God. Yes, it's been a journey. Of course, we canceled 2020, and that was a pretty obvious thing that needed to happen. And I really appreciate all of the patience and the preparation that many of you did with the hopes that 2021 would happen. And Charlie and I spoke in the fall. I think the first time we talked about it was in October, and throughout the depth of the fall, we set a lot of systems in place. There was a fair amount of hope. It certainly looked like the vaccines were going to be resolvable, and as things go, it's not just one thing that makes a rocket go or makes the rocket stop. And I know that there were some camps that had started with dues and had definitely, many of you filled out your theme camp questionnaire and filled out many surveys. Thank you for that. There was one in January that 30,000 people started and 20,000 finished. And we heard from all of you about your hopes. of moving forward. So I'm very grateful for the work that people did to actually move forward to look towards lifting up 2021. And I think we've done the right thing in taking another year off. But this symposium is a testament to the fact that the conversations that we have, that we want to have about Burning Man culture, about how we as individuals and as groups and camps, how we show up out in the world is still relevant. It's not, it's not even like Bryant said, it seemed obvious to continue doing this symposium, and I was super excited to hear that. Since the questions and the ideas and the thoughts that we have to create the different groups, which are really their own cultures at this point. I know many of you, at least in the camp that I'm with, we're still super excited to connect with the people that we live beside and we work beside. And so today we get to share info as we love to do. That's one of the things that came out of one of the surveys was, Burning Man is good at bringing people together. And that is what we're going to continue to do. And whether we have Black Rock City or not, we'll bring people together, and we'll do it online. We'd like to be doing it in person. We're going to encourage teams, volunteer teams, theme camps, art collectives, and we'll do whatever we can to support the culture and the community to come out and start, for 2021, let's experiment with being out there together. Let's find ways to be safe and, renew our hearts. We've had a couple of picnics for the staff because we hadn't even seen each other when we had to make the cancellation or the postponement, however you want to view that. We hadn't even seen each other, and now is the time for everybody to start, seeing one another and begin to imagine. And we get to imagine 2021 and all the possibilities. Bryant, your Miro board shows that we have a lot still to share, and that this is the time to reach out and connect. So I'm grateful you all are here. Thank you for the work that you do to bring Black Rock City together. Black Rock City is not anything without the theme camps and the art and the community. The organization is here to help facilitate the platform for you all to come in and engage and occupy and be playful and do what you do. And I wish you all the best and warmth and luck and love towards one another as we make this journey on to the next Black Rock City. So thanks for being here. And Charlie, I'm sure you've got some warm words to say too.
Yeah, thank you, Marian. And also just to add to that, thanks everybody for coming out today. It's coming out in the new sense of the word, which is just really staying at home. For me, it's been really interesting as we've gone through the process of the last year to remember how much of a communal effort Black Rock City is and how challenging that has been in all of the different ways, both from an organizational perspective and from you guys trying to get together your bits and pieces. Like, it's been really, really hard. And people have been super creative in how they can connect with each other, how they can support each other. And, everybody deserves a lot of credit for their resilience, for the energy they put into holding up their friends and supporting the members of their community. We know some of us have done okay and some of us have not done okay. And the big communal effort thing is that principle has really come in handy this year. So yeah, that's great. And I think it speaks to how hard you all work. We know how hard everybody works to come to Burning Man, and this year it's just been a different way of doing it, but again, another example. We know that many of you are excited to get back to the playa. I know that we're excited to get back to the playa. It feels like a long way off right now. But we also have an opportunity in this break here, and I know there's going to be some conversations about this later today, but to look at some of the issues that have come up in the world, and that this kind of forced hiatus has made us kind of reprioritize things. So, looking at diversity and inclusion and looking at sustainability and thinking about ways for the community to get more inclusive. These are issues that are not going away, and they're issues that are going to get more and more and more important. And we, as leaders of a community that has that the world watches, have an opportunity to really to show what we can do. We know we have a lot of work to do, and that's okay. You know, let's knuckle down and let's get on and do that together. Marian also mentioned, and we saw from the poll, that a bunch of folks are planning to go to the playa this year. If you do go to the playa, please remember to, put your best burner hats on and use all the skills that you've learned over the years, thinking about the impact on the local community, thinking about how you leave the playa, all that kind of stuff. If you know folks who are going and you think they could use some pointers, there are some great pieces written on the journal with input from a bunch of different people, including communications with local communities. So those journals could be super helpful in communicating to other folks if you feel that maybe they need some prompters, or without the structure of Burning Man around them, they could use a little reminder of the right way to do things. As I think either Harley or Marian said, this is a really interesting point where this is a proof of principle, right? How have we, has Burning Man over the years actually taught us to be better custodians of the land and better, and good citizens? And so now is going to be that moment where we see if the lessons have really rubbed off on people. So, and a lot of people are going to be watching. So let's just think about that. And I want to just also then, lastly, before getting out of the way of this piece, is just thank Tony's optimistic. I'm also optimistic, Tony. Thank the placement team and the camp support group. You guys, this group of people who probably everybody on this call knows is the kind of bridge that connects all these different areas of the community, and has worked tirelessly for the last couple of years, even without an event, and is still working tirelessly now behind delivering this event, to keep us all connected and to help us be better citizens, and just to help us when we go, astray, and to kind of praise us when we do things right. And you guys are just fantastic. And you work really, really, really hard. So thank you to that team supporting the community, which the placement and the camp crew, who also work super hard. So thank you to all of you. Level, you're a diamond. And let's have a great day of conversation. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Marian. You both are gems too. So we have a packed day. For the plenary session, we have a couple great panels for you to talk about where we are in this moment in time and what we're going to be looking forward to in 2021. The first panel is really thinking about what are we in light of not having a Black Rock City this year, and without our annual pilgrimage. Beyond Black Rock City, what are our core identities and competencies as a culture and as a community? How do we stay connected? What is this connective tissue? So today's panel is going to take a deeper dive into our evolution as a culture and a community without going to Black Rock City and building it for 2 years. So where are we now? Where are we today? I'm going to hand it over to Stunt and Trigger Warning, who will be moderating this session. It's going to go for about 45 minutes. And we have a lot of other goodies for you after that. So for now, I'm going to hand it over. Trigger Warning and Stunt, why don't you go ahead and take it away? We'll be assembling the panel together. And just for folks to know, the view that we recommend is the standard view or speaker view. That way you can kind of see the panel rather than all the heads in the room. You can still scroll through and see one another, but we really want to spotlight the panel so you can see that they're engaging with one another. So with that, take it away, Trigger Warning and Stunt.
Good morning, good people. Wow, what a time. Before we get started, I just want to say, both Kevin, Stunt husband, and I, being in operations for decades now, I want to say thank you to everybody over at Burning Man Project. There was no autopilot for what has transpired over the last 2 years, that you have all tried to figure it out, the how, and just how tiring and tedious the process has been. I just want to stop and say thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, don't cry already. Thank you. It's a lot of work and it's very appreciated. And I can't wait to give you all big hugs, but just know that it is appreciated. And moving on. So here we are. Hi, was formerly Candy Ass, now Stunt, or I'm sorry, no Stunt Husband. Trigger warning, took 23 years to get a new name that's way more fitting. Blissbit's Retirement Village, recently resigned from the camp support team to focus on my family. I'd also like to introduce my co-host, Stunt Husband, also Kevin Rowell, who I've worked with in operations for years. He's been working in disaster relief and recovery and helping refugees and IDP camps globally for years. He's a treasure trove of information, and I've asked him to come forward and help me with the moderation of our panel. And I'm going to just punt over to him to introduce our speakers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Candy Ass. And I was Buddha Fish since like the early 2000s, and then Candace just got on it, and now Stunt Husband. So if anybody needs a stunt husband out there, I got you. So today we're here to talk about something really precious to, I think, all of us, which is, as we come into this year of not having a formal event on the playa, to burn or not to burn. That's part of what we're going to be talking about today. We're also going to be taking a deeper dive into what we've all learned as a community and as individuals in our time in and preparing for Black Rock City, and what we've learned from this past year of what it is to have, sort of train wreck or cacophony of things that we didn't anticipate happen within our own communities. So what is BRC beyond the playa? And then how are we going to take these lessons learned and the inspiration that we give each other out into the world? And as we take this deep dive, we're going to have a couple of trippers helping us navigate this terrain. We have Diva Marissa, who's been burying bodies at Thunderdome, Death Guild Thunderdome for many years. We have Steve Raspa, who's basically just like a cultural foundation. And I think he's an artist, but we don't really know what that means. We have Adriana, who's been writing all the gossip for us since the beginning of time. We have Nexus with Comfort and Joy, who's bringing in, well, comfort and joy, hopefully. And the polyamorous love. This is a really important one because we are all of the love. We have, of course, Coyote, Tony Perez, who is not only the coolest guy on the block, but also has been really making sure that we have a foundation to land on out there on the dusty playa. And we have Timekeeper, who's really just here to tell us what we're doing wrong, I'm pretty sure. And so we're gonna start this off. This is gonna be a ping pong session, and we're gonna really try and keep the ball moving between the fluidity of thought. And I'm gonna pass it to Candace now to set some framework for how we want to have this conversation. So Candy, take it.
I think I'm going to have polyamorous names on playa for the rest of my life now. So because this is a pretty crunchy, get deep and kind of conversation, we decided, because this is the cacophony society of where we all came from, that we needed to make some fun. So everybody that's on the panel, we've talked about it, you're on the honor system. This is our ode to psychedelic friendship bingo, if anybody's heard of it. Or it's kind of like you can't do that on television when you say, I don't know. Everybody hold up your mustard. If you say, I don't know, honor system, you're gonna mustard your face. So see, we're gonna keep this entertaining for y'all. Oh yeah. So that's first and foremost. Got to keep it fun and interesting. Got to be able to make fun of ourselves. And because we're about to go rapid fire ping pong and get this conversation looking forward, I thought it was really important to just address where we came from and talk about that for a second. I mean, I think for a lot of people, the catalyst and in where we came from, we kind of were allowed permission to think a little bit more deeply about our impact because of the statement from Deathfield Thunderdome. I know how it landed on me. I definitely clutched my pearls when I read it and went, I hear Burning Man Project people cussing in my head. But the point is this. What's the point? The point is this. It was a catalyst for me personally to go, there's nothing wrong in this statement in the sense of we all have connective tissue here. And the priorities for a theme camp organizer start within the cocoon of the camp and the structure and the people. The priorities for Burning Man Project and its employees may be a little bit different in its structure and its cocoon and its people, but the connective tissue that make us who we are together is what's important. And it made me think of this, when you, something I live by, when you focus on another person, you're getting them to do what it is you need to do. So instead of, this isn't a conversation that we're going to have, and this is the guardrail and parameters about making Burning Man Project wrong. Oh no, it's a matter of, we have learned who we are. We have had this beautiful experiment that shaped who we are to the point that we know how to not only fish, but hand out fishing poles. So we're all activated to do the work it is we need to do. And I just wanted to take a moment and stop and thank Marisa. Because of her statement, how many different adjacent projects have spawned out of necessity? We were able to launch Burner Network, which is now has the funding to help camps hold on to their assets that can't afford to pay for their storage this year. We were able to, in the last year, work with the Paiute Tribal Council, and we'll talk about it and announce later, but it was really important to me that if you're gonna go out to Black Rock for a week, maybe you stop at the reservation. There's a whole priority list of, and needs assessment of projects could really use the myriad of expertise from our community. So how about we do good and we leave a trace? So those things wouldn't have happened without the brevity and the statement that Deathfield Thunderdome, it activated burners to stand up and do good. So thank you. And moving on, I'll punt it back to Kevin.
That is not fair to be like, okay, I'm going to make Marisa cry and then move on. So,
well, don't worry.
You said there was no crying in Thunderdome.
And then I immediately said they're totally.
Just put some mustard on it. It's just mustard in your eye.
And this is it. I mean, let's jump right in. I mean, the whole point of this conversation was to get to the heart of the matter. And when we did our rehearsals for this, we saw that this group of people has a really precious set of perspectives. So, we have a whole bunch of questions to get into, but let's just start right there for a minute and just spend a minute with this ping pong ball of what that spun for people. What was it, about the statement from Thunderdome that touched you? I know a lot of folks had experience with that. So let's make Marisa cry a little more first, and then we'll move on to some questions.
I thought it was a line in the sand that needed to be drawn, and nobody at Burning Man Project. I mean, the problem is Burning Man Project had a perspective of like, oh my God, we need to throw an event so we can have money, and not really looking at the bigger picture of, well, there is a global pandemic happening. So whereas like, Thunderdome and really all camps, my camp as well, we don't have skin in that game. So it's like, to us, it seemed really obvious. So it was like, this is, getting 80,000 people out in the desert this year, just emphatically, morally seems like a bad idea. And I'm a little shocked that, that Burning Man really couldn't see the forest through the trees there.
I can pop in here. I'll be completely honest. When I first read the Thunderdome reaction or letter, I was actually frustrated with it. I felt that my initial reaction was that you didn't trust us, that we were trying to look for a way to go forward, because we've been in position. I see you shaking your head, Gianna. But, let me finish my thoughts.
Oh, do it.
Please, because we've been at odds before. But I had to think it through. the reason I was reacted in that way is because we were looking at a do or die type of situation. We didn't have a clear path to 2022. And if we didn't do 2021, we didn't know if our fates were in the balance. And so I've always come from a point of view where, you try another way. We've been in situations before where we're hanging on a thread and we found a way to build it anyway. And so that's where I was coming from. But then when I started really thinking it through of how large a ship we have, and how it would do a lot more damage to do than not to do, especially when we were starting to see a clear path to 2022, which was a result of the community again coming together, thousands of people stepping up, and we could see that we had resounded with a lot of people with our ethos that went beyond Black Rock City. So it was the community that saved it again. And then once we had a clear path, then I could see the wisdom of it. So when I talk about my gut reaction, it was from my gut. But then when we started thinking about it, it made a whole lot more sense. It took some convincing, though. I still wanted to build Black Rock City right up until the end, but I do appreciate the courage that it took to put that post out, because it really took brass balls, and that I hats off to that. So and in the end, it was the right choice.
To me, it kind of came down to money ultimately. It's like, but like I throw an event as well where almost my entire income is based on event income, just like Burning Man. So in March 2020, when everything went down, I completely just redid everything. And I kind of feel like Burning Man didn't do that. Burning Man just kind of kept on going on, didn't make enough financial, fiscal, responsible changes, and then are suddenly like, oh crap, wait a minute, it's not going to happen again. What are we going to do? And I got to say, asking for a bailout, not once, but twice from the community is not necessarily a good look when Burning Man already has such a reputation for being like an event for rich, privileged people.
Well, I want to jump in now as a moderator and just honor, first of all, the perspectives of our community. And I think this is where it gets really interesting. I saw Marian chime in, and I'm not going to come to the defense of anybody. That's not my job. But I will say I can see all the sides. I'm a community member. I've been an event organizer and run operations for many different kinds of events. And I just want to appreciate that there's so much nuance and complexity in how these things are both enacted, perceived. And this is really the growing edge, right? This is the growing edge. And I think I encourage, I encourage this conversation to continue on. Let's put a pin in this thread for the moment, unless somebody wants to offer maybe a little nuanced, different perspective. But it's just because this is the thing that we're trying to do with this panel too, is bring together the cohesion and elasticity to really build the resilience within the Burning Man community that can help us move forward. Because really, that's the only fucking conversation. It doesn't matter what happened a week ago. So Raspa, I see your hand is raised in the old-fashioned way. Please, if you want to interject something, we always love your wisdom. And again, Adriana, Mariam, everyone, Coyote, it's about hearing each other's perspectives. We're not here to make each other wrong. So please, Raspa, share your wisdom.
Well, I just want to honor, I think, the challenge that Adriana is making, but also clarify right up front, fuck the money. I don't think anybody does this here, works as hard as we do, or cares as much as we do because of some money. And I got dollar signs in my name sometimes as a joke. But, to say it was about the money is really to simplify it in the same, and it was a very complicated, and, the one thing you can say about Burning Man is we don't move so fast because we're always trying to gauge what does the community want to do? How is it going to turn out right? What are the factors? So it is a little insulting to say it was just about the money. It wasn't. It really, and I can put that to bed right away because, we were all like, if it folds and we have to remake it again, let's do that. But we wanted to figure out how do we save the knowledge and the wisdom even to do the damn thing again? Will we lose too many people? Will we be able to put the pieces of the kingdom back together again, or should we let it all go? And that's complicated too. So I welcome the challenge. I think it's healthy to keep everybody honest and to, but it was complicated. And I do think, I thanked Thunderdome for creating a moral imperative and putting a stake in the ground and saying, these are what we feel comfortable with moving forward and not. And I think that's what you do with any crisis. You look at, what are you about? Where do you stand in the world as individuals and as a community? And that's what, in part, that whole conversation helped to prompt.
Yeah. And that brings us to the current moment, without stepping on any moderators. I know there's we've been through this conversation a little bit. And again, I think it's one that's really, really important. It's important to not let it get to a winning state. And what I mean by that is, Raspa, Marian, everyone, it's not about going, it was never about the money, right? It's not about resolving the conversation. It's about the elasticity to absorb the energy of communication and then let that be the transformative aspect of both the ego self and the community self. Marissa, I see your hand went up also. I apologize. We should actually, since all of this is coming around you, Marissa, would you like to say anything?
So first, it's Marisa. Sorry, I usually give that announcement in the beginning. No, that's okay. But I want to talk a little bit about intent because I know and love many people who work for the org, and I am sensitive to that. And it seemed that the event was going forward, and I saw the survey, and I had concerns about when the community voice was going to be represented and going to come in. And I saw kind of a void of that. And we met, the Thunderdome crew met, and we talked about it. And we have international members, we have immunocompromised members, we have people who have been disproportionately impacted. And when we put together that statement, it was really with the thought of, and to your point, stunt husband, of moving forward. What are we going to be able to do? Because if we had planned to go this year, it would have created a rift within our own community, and Thunderdome would not have been able to continue. We would have lost people who would have been so furious that some of us went when not all of us could go, that we wouldn't have been able to recover. When I posted that question internally after the statement was made and we got some flack from the community, I reached out internally to the crew and I said, hey, folks who wouldn't have been able to go this year, what would you have done if some of us had chosen to go, if the event happened? And the people who couldn't go said, we would never have camped with you in the first place if you were the kind of people who would have gone anyway. And that was it. To move forward, we couldn't go. And that was the right move for us.
And that's what I meant about connective tissue. Thank you, Marisa. Thank you, everyone. That was the crunchy, sticky, we need to address how we got here to be able to move forward, get over the hump, and have this rapid fire ping pong conversation. I really appreciate us taking the time. That said, we're going to move this forward. Oh, Coyote, did you want to say something?
I just thought I saw Nexus had a hand up. I did.
Here's where I'm going.
I did, but if we're ready to move on,
Okay.
That's right, baby. It's coming to you, actually. So let's move this forward. This is pretty much for all of you, and I'd really like to punt this over to you, Nexus. Looking at the context of how we get over the hump, has the definition of community itself evolved over the past year and a half? And in what ways have your priorities shifted? I think this last year has really shown us, year and a half, exactly who people are. We know who people are and their core competencies now, and we may be polarized, but how do you love the polarization or accept it for what it is anyway and move forward and love thy neighbor that may think that people drink blood? Who knows? So when you look at this on a socioeconomic level or on an equitable level, how do we redefine community and in our actions within the context of our community here to make the change that we want to see both on Playa and beyond? And I would love to hear from you, Nexus.
Sure, and thank you. I just wanted to, yes, and I think what Deaf Guild shared really modeled a way of making a decision about going or not going as a camp independently of where Burning Man Project was. And I think what was really important for us was we realized there were a lot of activities that we kind of like called fundraisers or whatever that helped us and our community get to the playa that we weren't able to do at the point in which we were still waiting for a decision for Burning Man Project. And because of that, we just similarly in good conscience couldn't go because we knew that would limit our ability to really show up as fully as we want to in the diversity of our community, but also knowing that we also still have certain challenges regarding diversity and community that we're talking about and addressing. And I think to your question about what does community mean, like what is a Burning Man camp without Black Rock City? We're still a camp. We're still a camp year round, right? And I think it's helped reframe also those fundraising activities as really the connective events to maintain that sense of community throughout the year. And I think related to that question, it also, especially with the events of last year, it's really made us try to interrogate how any space we're responsible for is an accountable one. We can't ever promise it's going to be safe, but we can make sure that if people experience things that are challenging, conflict, tension, what do we have in place for them to be able to let us know, and how can we take care of them? And so I think it's related because there's things that we can practice year round that are uber relevant when we come to Playa. When people come to any camp, do they know what to do if they experience something that's like triggers something or is adverse or like hurts them as it relates to part of their identity? And we can model and practice that year round. And we don't even have to wait until we do things in person. We can model that virtually. And so I think what this is really giving us time and space to do is to really examine what we have in place and what we don't. Something that I think we already do have in place, we usually have processes in place to deal with physical hurt. We can just scaffold other forms of harm on top of that. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so I think it's really, every time we gather together, right, we are defining the community, we imagine, we envision, and I think this past year, even virtually, to the 70% of camps that said they were doing things Zoom and virtually, you've been maintaining your community, right? To those that haven't, maybe you need to take a break, and that's fine and valid too. But I think it's made community more of a verb than a noun, and I'm going to stop there for now.
Well, this is definitely, this is how we, stimulate this conversation into the next level. What is the sort of, what are the ways that we are bringing this back to our community? What are the ways that we are manifesting this in real life, right? Because this is, I think we talked about this a little bit in discussion, this whole community on this call, even going back to Adriana's comment about money, when we talk about the Burning Man community, we're already coming from a position of privilege in many instances. We live, many of us based here in the United States or in developed countries that have resources, that have assets. And when we get down to what we talk about as community, we all live in neighborhoods, we live in cities, we live in regions that maybe don't have the same connectivity, assets, or resources. And so when we talk about inclusion and really making that space for everyone, what are we really talking about, right? Because it's not just about the event or the occurrence, it's about the cultivation of a community that we all want to be a part of year round. And so I'm curious to ping pong for a minute. I think I might have gone a little off script, I apologize. But yeah, just to take that thread and run with it, what does that piece mean for us? If anybody wants to run with that.
If I may here, can you guys hear me okay?
Go for it,
Sorry,
Ryan.
my internet's a bit unstable where I am, but for our camp, we really sat down and thought, okay, how do we continue this community moving forward when we're not seeing each other in the desert for just a week? And it was, the weekly Zooms, like what 76% of the people answering that poll said they were doing. And then developing like, okay, how do we keep the culture alive? And so we decided to create a speaker series once a month where we talk to people, and Adriana was one of our guests, about all the 10 principles. So our idea was to take the culture that we love and broadcast it out to as many people as we can. or as many people as we could, with no intention other than just, spreading the principles and spreading the culture and the community. And I mean, it's been an amazing learning process. It's kept our campmates involved. It's kept us involved in the community. And it's I would say for some of us, it was the first time of experiencing the Burning Man, 365 days a year instead of just one day a month. But so that's kind of what our focus was. And just going back to the original point with Maurice's message, I was struck by the equity question. I mean, that just sang out to me the most. So, so within that, we broadcast it everywhere that we possibly can. So our goal was just to keep the community alive by sharing the principles and seeing how people are using those in their daily lives, how our speakers are implementing those, both burners and non-burners.
I guess I could chime in here.
Yes.
Go for it.
I've always thought that people, humanity in general, I think that people want to do good. Most people do. The headlines would have it different. The headlines would tell you that the world is mostly evil, but that's what makes headlines. But when you look at people in general, like if you're looking at traffic, most everybody is following traffic in there's always one asshole that's weaving through, cutting off, but most everybody wants to get home safely. Most everybody wants to do good. And when we started going out to the desert, we found a place where we could flourish in that. And I think that's what brings people back, and why it's so infectious around the world is because we found a place where it was cooperative instead of competitive. And because right now you grow up with a capitalist idea that you must compete with each other in order to succeed. But you go out to Black Rock City and it's all about cooperation. And that ties into the theme camps, into the camps itself. Now, when I build the city itself, I always feel like I'm building a trellis, and it's wonderful to sit back and watch the branches grow in.
Right.
And it turns into this like flora of positive thinking. And when you take the trellis away, it doesn't mean we're now bad people and we don't want to interconnect. I mean, look at how even right now we use electronics to do it. I mean, thank God for Zoom, I guess, what it did for this pandemic. But it's like roots. The roots will find a way. If it comes into a concrete, it'll change. It finds a way. So we're going to find a way to reconnect. It's going to be weird when we get out there again, because you're not going to know it's okay to hug. We just had a party at our house last weekend and we were hugging the crap out of each other, but I'm not sure it's going to be that way for everyone. But maybe that's a good thing. But I do think that humanity is a good thing, and that's what's going to bring us back together. And so that's why we can see a path to 2022. Whatever that's worth.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Coyote. Let's keep the ping pong ball moving among the moderators. If anybody else wants to keep riffing on this thread, please.
Yeah,
Russ got his hand up.
Yeah, Tony, I like your metaphor of roots. My metaphor is more like water, that the vessel is overflowing, or when a river is blocked, new pathways form. And I really see the culture mutating. It's scaling in new and interesting ways. It's taking new forms, and it's definitely spilling over into everyday life. And that can increase both accessibility to the culture and I think some healthy sort of like questions that come up. One of the things that I've loved are when Austin burners and Seattle burners created a map and placed art and theme camps on their front porches and lawns. I mean, and then as a byproduct, they met their neighbors. Their neighbors came out. They're like, hey, what's going on here? I mean, that pushes the whole notion of a theme camp into how you live your life in a daily basis in relationship with other people around you. And so I think, like, as camps, asking yourselves, how can you bring people together to do meaningful healing work? We need a lot of healing right now. How can we do unifying work? How can we do stuff that creates joy, that does leave a positive trace? All of those questions are super hyper relevant right now. And, we've had this global pandemic crisis. and we don't have our usual pathway to Black Rock City, that should really, in some ways, give us the permission to ask ourselves, what do we care about here? What's really important to us as people? And what do we want to take into our daily lives individually and in community as camps and expanded members of this whole messy, beautiful thing?
That's just gonna, oh, I don't know, Kevin, your picture. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Raspa, because I really wanted you to chime in. I keep going back to 1999 and the Futura Deluxe Bubble Fountain in Porta Temple. And what you had said about it being so, it was like inherently optimistic, but also fleeting, not to be taken for granted. It was such an uncanny foreshadowing to me as to where we are and all the tools that we have been given in this experiment of how we take this out into the world, that I really wanted you here in the sense that, like, you know, what was your take on like how this evolves? Do we see, you know, what do you think? Is this going to go more into the regional and how this unrolls into the world, and how your perspective was really important to me on this one?
Well, I'll just briefly comment because I want to make sure that people have a chance to speak, but thank you for bringing up that project. And that project used the soap bubble as a metaphor for human aspirations and for life. And after this pandemic, I think I've been reminded all the more of how absolutely fleeting, even more fleeting than I would really prefer life is in all of this. So I think from that awareness comes a very sort of powerful moment that we get to sort of decide what is meaningful to us, what is worth doing in whatever time we have, individually and together. And I think from there, you can actually build healthier and better communities and relationships. And that a crisis like this can really make the entire experience of living as a conscious person much more meaningful. And to answer the second part of your question, yeah, like different parts of the world are in different phases. New Zealand, Australia, Taiwan have been able to move forward with in-person events, as of other areas in the world. Ukraine, Lithuania, Romania, Russia all had events over the last year in small groups and with very high safety precautions as official events. But what I really get excited about was the question you brought up earlier, like how do we push beyond even the metaphor of closed borders and events into new forms? And I have seen in this year regional groups and community members of our community creating parades that move through public spaces. Right now in Sacramento, they're having a drive-through experience, which was a COVID-safe way of doing that, but also harkens back to what I love about the art car members of our community, that they drive through the world living an expressive life and inspiring people, you know. And so I think that, like, for me, the existential challenge is how do you walk through the world, know you are connected to all, you know, to everybody, that we're all connected. We're all looking at it. Those of us that are here are experiencing a sense of shared reality online, but we all exist in the world. So how do we move through the world with the power of knowing that and not wait until the next gathering?
Well, I think the gathering that we had virtually last year, I might be in the minority, but virtual Burning Man on like with, and I don't even have VR goggles. I had a great time last year. I thought it was amazing, actually. And but instead of like separating it amongst 8 different platforms, I really hope that Burning Man just narrows it down to BRC VR and maybe like one other platform, because it was a little too scattered. But, you know, growing pains, I get it. But I'm actually weirdly looking forward to it this year in the same way that I look forward to Burning Man. And the important thing, accessibility. So many friends of mine, so many people I know. I mean, Raspa, you're talking about like spreading burner culture, you know, out into, you know, other outside communities, into your own communities. I mean, this was an amazing way for people to experience Burning Man without actually needing to go to the desert. And that was, and, you know, keep bringing up money, you know, people who can't afford to go can at least still get a taste of it. And so I do hope that this year goes a little bit more smoothly than last year, but even last year, considering what a shit show it seemed like it was going to be, BRC VR was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I just want to step in and compliment the moderators and panelists for a second. We're going to be wrapping up here in a minute with this opening discussion. But I really want to encourage everybody to know we have a Miro board for ongoing discussion, right? We're going to, maybe the guys can put that back into the chat there at some point. This is not meant to be just a discussion between the panelists or the moderators on, up here right now. This is meant to be a discussion about how we take this shit back into our world. And it includes, I always call it BR-VCR because I was raised in the 80s, so I always think of VCRs, but it includes the online portions of our community, it includes the interactive aspects, it includes the things that RASPA and everyone have really touched on, which is our families and our communities. And so just remember, it doesn't end just because we end this panel. Like, we've really got to keep our heads down and stay strong with our heart alignment and bring this value back into our community. And the unconference board has been posted. So hopefully, feel free to go in there. I know we're gonna have a stretch break in a minute, put some thoughts in there, and big congratulations to everybody for, holy fuck, what a year. Any final words, Trigger?
Just wanted to thank everybody. Remember, we're connective tissue. There is the project, there are these theme camps. We are a community. To be kind, there is so much how the sausage is made. If anybody was working for Burning Man for a project, there wouldn't be a Burning Man, okay? We're here for the love, period. And for that, I want to say thank you to Marian, because what she's had to carry on her shoulders to steer this ship, no one will ever know. And that in itself, like, we're all her little kittens. Okay, like we're the kids. Can you imagine having to carry that? So let's just say thank you and move on. And thank you everybody for being here. And remember to be kind.
Hi everybody, it's time to stretch. So you ready? Stand up, or you can stay seated if you want, but you can go ahead and stand up. I've got 2 minutes with you, so let's go. Let's go. Here we are. Placing your hands on your rib cage right here. Breathing in. Feeling that stretching right here. Hand on the front of the chest, hand at the back. Breathing into that rib cage. Letting it go. Arm goes out to the side. Bring that shoulder up to the ear. Let that shoulder drop down. Bring the palm facing up, and we're going into a nice side bend. You've got some cobwebs in there. We're stretching those out. And then you're coming up, and you're going to go to the other side. Extend that arm. Shoulder up to the ear, ear to the shoulder, and then let it go. Palm faces up, and we go into that side bend. Ooh, feeling some cobwebs, maybe going away. And then we come up. And then we place our hands once again on the rib cage, widen our legs just a little bit. Or if you're sitting, again, you can do all of this sitting. And we're just going around with that pelvis, breathing, inhaling, exhaling in the other direction. Letting it go and breathing. Placing the hands on the front of the thighs, rolling down just till you're just at a 90-degree angle with the back and the hips flat back, rolling back up. Legs a little bit wider, swishing back and forth. And then shaking. That's your 2 minutes of stretching. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Peta. We have a lot of content here, so want to make sure that we're using our entire bodies, and it's not just about sitting and listening and participating. I really thank everyone on our last panel. And also everyone who's been participating through chat. You know, we're trying to share links and share ideas. That's a great way to do it. And I hope that just keeps up throughout the next couple hours. So moving on with our agenda for this, if you've been following along with Burning Man projects, you should know that there are a couple key areas that we are trying to move forward in as an organization and as an entire community. And we want to get everyone on this plan with. So one of those topics is sustainability and making sure that we are an environmentally sustainable event and can save the world and the earth that we live on. So we have a really great panel here to just share a little bit about the Green Theme Camp community. Just a kind of quick raise of hands to see, you don't have to actually raise virtually, but just wave if you have heard of the Green Theme Camp community or participated at all. Yeah, it looks like some folks have. Great. So we have Mox, Teresa, and Elise here to tell you more about it. And there'll be a breakout this afternoon too, if you want to dive even deeper. So I'll hand it over to, I believe, Mox first. Mox.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Level. I'm Mox from Hotel California, and I'm honored to be speaking with you with Teresa Young from the Green Theme Camp community, as well as Elise Lee from Ideate and the Green Theme Camp community. Both incredible humans, and today we're just really excited to share what's going on in this group and how we're building toward a sustainable Burning Man from the theme camp angle. And like Level said, there's also a breakout session this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific if you want to dive in deeper. So I think we have some slides. Awesome. So while the past 12 months have been chock full of uncertainty, there's also been some really great silver linings. And while communities have been apart, some new ones have also formed. So a year ago at this event, moving on, basically Breedlove announced that we'll be organizing a Green Theme Camp Summit. And while we hope that could be taking place at Fly Ranch and prototyping sustainable infrastructure and forming the seed of a long-lasting community, instead, what we ended up doing is having that online. And we want to have a community of camp organizers and project leads rethinking how theme camps can accelerate the 2030 sustainability roadmap. Theme camps are the backbone of the city, and each one is itself a whole community with a lot of knowledge, wisdom, and resources to drive towards a sustainable burn. So since we didn't get to meet up in person, we did hold that summit in October of last year over the span of about 4 days. Next. More than 80 people attended from all around the world, and burners with decades of experience in sustainability, professional experience, met side by side with project leads and theme camp organizers who've been prototyping stuff in the Black Rock Desert, as well as just people who are curious and committed to figuring out what our role should be and is in shaping the future of Black Rock City. So those groups organized into key infrastructure areas, projects were born, and of course, we had a whole lot of fun in the process. Moving on, from that initial summit emerged a community committed to leaving a better trace, doing more with less, being truly inclusive, and maybe even radical community reliance or interdependence as some concepts that came out of that summit. The community is 130 members and growing who have self-organized into infrastructure and project groups that are active on Slack, are meeting a couple times a month. And we gather as well as a community for quarterly roundups, highlighting the overall progress that's been made. And we plan an annual summit each year. So for folks curious about learning more, there's a lot of room to get involved. A lot of projects are in motion, but very much at the early stages. So if you're passionate about greening the burn and taking care of the Black Rock Desert and our planet, we'd love to have you as a part of the community and to shape Black Rock City with us. With more to share on how the community is organizing and what we've been up to, I would like to pass it to Teresa, who, aside from helping to organize the summit in October, also came to this community through co-organizing an event with me ahead of last burn in August 2019, so long ago. So with that, please take it away, Teresa.
Thanks, Drew. Hey everyone, I'm Teresa. Really excited to be here at the symposium with y'all and share a little bit about the Green Theme Camp community, what's so special about the group, what we're doing with our time, and how we're going forward, like everyone here is discussing today. So what's been really beautiful to watch as this community has organically evolved is this inspiring spirit of duocracy. A lot of individuals seeing a need and stepping into doing, kind of forging that path forward. So for myself in 2019, after a number of burns, I remember feeling that urge, like many have, for apply a wide community organized effort towards a sustainable Burning Man. So I took the action that I could, and like Drew said, we partnered up and organized this event called Cool Your Burn, an evening with 30 TCOs sharing knowledge and expertise around sustainability practices. And I just remember that by the end of the night, I could feel this like collective aha moment. It was this ember being stoked. There was a really unique recipe of individuals radically self-reliant, but also asking themselves this hard question of, what is sustainable for the planet and what's sustainable for Burning Man? And whatever it is, it requires us to take that individual responsibility and also act together to step beyond surviving and into community thriving. So our mission today, as you see, is to activate solutions and community towards a sustainable Black Rock City and reach the 2030 sustainability goals. What does that look like moving forward? We're continually asking ourselves a couple of questions. How might theme camps come together to share best practices? What are our collective values? How do we design the future role of theme camps to make BRC a sustainable and regenerative home? And how does this go past the trash fence, beyond playa and into the world as models for sustainable cities? We're continually refining. We don't have all the answers, but these help us to orient in the right direction and remind us of why we come together. Next. So what's the community doing? Well, basically it's a bunch of cool people riffing on ideas, creating, inventing, leading into the unknown and uncomfortable towards shared vision. And what's really great is that there is a place for everyone. So any burner going forward can start by exploring BLAST, which is Burner Leadership Achieving Sustainable Theme Camps. So you can think LEAD, but for theme camps. It's a green theme camp certification, helping them find out how green their camp is, what does an ideal green theme camp look like, and how do we begin to measure and be accountable. Next, in addition, any burner can join the 6 InfraLead groups that you mentioned around the major infrastructure areas. So that's power, waste, water, energy, shelter, food, and transport. So they're each led by experts and have their own mission. For example, the waste group, who you'll also hear from shortly, is camps participating in regenerative and circular waste models. Stop waste from occurring, redistribute waste to those who need it, and repurpose waste in the most regenerative ways. And then going forward, burners can contribute to or learn from the Thrival Guide, which is an open source playbook for regenerative practices on playa and beyond. And it's just recently released in beta and ready to take submissions. So all that to say, there's a lot of room for new ideas, leadership, and participation, really duocracy spirit. And then lastly, where are we heading? The GTCC roadmap, we organize 4 quarterly roundups each year. Some informal, non-programmed, hopefully in-person hang times coming up. We've silent discoed before, even in COVID, virtually. We brought in a DJ, pulled on some costumes, danced together but separate. And a new addition this year, a little TBD, is a green experimental burn, where the community comes together to prototype, build, and prep. And then, of course, our beloved annual burn. We can just imagine green theme camps all around. What might even a green village look like? And then beyond the trash fence, what might a ultimate green theme camp living model of a camp look like? Offering workshops, in-person learning experiences, or a global network of sustainable and regenerative mobile infrastructure that's deployable anywhere in the world. So I hope all of that is vibing your sustainability cells. And at this point, you're asking, how do I get involved? And I'll pass that over to Elise to share more.
Thanks, Teresa. So if you go to the next slide, we can't go over, all of the things that we have done this past couple of months, but if you go to the next slide, you'll see our website. And so we really encourage you to drop in and explore and see how you can get involved. And so, yeah, and sorry, the next slide. Cool. Yeah. So if you go to www.greentheme.camp, it'll take you to our website where we have all of our groups organized by infrastructure topic, the blast guides, the thrival guide. I know this might be a lot of vague for you, so I kind of just want to drop in and give you an example of like a project we're working on. I help manage a waste streams group. If you go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit of an overview of what we've done. Just to give you context, I went to Black Rock City for the first time in 2019. So it's been really interesting to have most of my engagement with the Burning Man culture being virtual. And, it's been such a source of inspiration and alignment just to be around such a special community that's been able to thrive not just on Playa, but outside of it. And, just feel that burning culture of Burning Man and like what brings us together at Black Rock City into the real world and how we can bring that change and activation within each other out here. So if Ideate, our gift to the Playa for the last 6 years, has been doing an entirely volunteer-run compost program. Leave no trace is something super important to me, and I'm sure resonates with a lot of you. And so one of the reasons I chose to camp with Ideate for my first year. But in 2019, we had a bit of a mishap where we had much more demand than we did supply in terms of we couldn't, like midweek, we ran out of a collection space to take people's food waste. And so, that was a aha moment for me, being like, okay, how can I help redesign this program so more people can activate their sustainability and like just reduce their waste? And how can we do that together? And so when Teresa and Drew and Breedlove and others came together to looking to seed a community for other people to opt in to activating their gifts and their free time to help reimagine what a sustainable city and life could look like, it was really perfect alignment. And so within a waste streams group, we've been doing a lot of musing within like, okay, so what does that look like? What is a vision of what a not perfect, but a more ideal version of a sustainable and regenerative circular model looks like and how we can each individually, collectively opt into. So it's been really fun these past few months. I've one idea on that, as well as prototype, for example, how we're going to scale the compost program. And a lot of it's been ideating, thinking about metrics, thinking about equipment brainstorms, and a lot of like really great puns about waste and how to get wasted on our Slack channel. I hope you guys join us. But it's led to us also doing our first prototyping of our pilot next month at an event with 120 people, and hopefully ideally soon in the future at Fly Ranch, and hopefully ideally at Black Rock City, and then into the default world. Because everything we do, we really want to be applicable and accessible, not just at Black Rock City, but like really bringing it into our day-to-day lives. And so, yeah, if you go to the next slide, you'll see that even if you have a big idea that you want to help activate, or if you want to just drop into a project, whether it's in waste streams or power or food or logistics, there is a place for everyone. And whether you're an expert or just an enthusiast, we really encourage you to join us. These are a few different videos of our events that we've done in the past if you want to catch up. But if just go to our website, www.greentheme.camp. I hope you join some of our calls, join our Slack channel. It's been a really special, I think, experience to just be part of a community that I feel really optimistic about in such a weird year, and really help shape the future and be like part of a community of doers and makers. So just want to end that there and then give it back to you, Level.
Thank you, Green Theme Camp community. Before you hop off, can you let us know what people, if they want to join your workshop later, what you'll be covering there?
Sure. So we'll be covering breakouts of the different infra area groups. So we'll be sort of giving an overview on some of the projects that are that were covered just now, the BLAST certification for camps, created by theme camp organizers for theme camp organizers, the Thrival Guide and how people can submit sustainable open source solutions to that guide, as well as break out into infra areas that you're passionate about, and host just small discussions on each area, and then come back together and do some sharing and some Q&A. So love to have you there.
Amazing. Thank you, Mox. Thank you, Teresa and Elise. I love that theme camps are really leading the way here. I feel like Oftentimes people are looking for, direction from maybe the org or from some higher power. Really, I think the lessons are here to be learned from one another. And I know that there's a lot of amazing work that the Green Think Camp community has been working on. If you're not in the fold, I really highly encourage you all to get into the fold, because maybe there's a really cool technology or trick that you're using within your camp that others could learn from. So, and Theme Camp's really leading the way here. So much respect to them all. Our next panel, we're gonna do another panel discussion, is about getting on the ride, radical inclusion, diversity, and equity in Black Rock City. So as I mentioned before, we talked about sustainability. We are forging ahead as a community around a few key issues, and radical inclusion, diversity, and equity is one of them. One of Burning Man's principles has been, when the principles were first created, radical inclusion, and that's really meant a lot to a lot of people. And I think that today what we're hoping to get is to dive deeper into what that means. What does that look like in terms of racial justice, especially in the United States, but also worldwide? And we've assembled a panel today to kind of share their perspectives on it, share also how people can get more involved and start doing this work. As a member of Burning Man Project, there is a RIDE stewardship group that is thinking about how can we shepherd kind of all corners of our community around this work. A lot of it is very individual, about kind of working with ourselves and our own backgrounds and experiences. And then it becomes interpersonal about how we relate with the world, and then becomes systemic around how we show up as groups of people and as systems. So I'm going to hand it over to James, who is our moderator for today. James is from an organization called Color of Change and also a longtime burner. James, take it away.
Thanks, Level. Well, thanks everyone who's been hanging in here and participating thus far. It's been, really, really informative, fascinating, and I think some of what has been discussed leads really well up into this conversation. And I think, Level, you kind of set the stage perfectly. First, I want to thank you, Level, and also Harley for inviting me to play this role. And regardless of what actually happens in the conversation, I'm already happy to have been chosen to moderate, because I got to like snoop around and find out who my fellow panelists were, and these are pretty incredible people, none of whom I knew before, and so that's cool. And I think Charlie said this earlier; it's come up a bunch of times. But Black Rock City in Burning Man, yes, outside of, let's say, the default world, but we have lessons from the default world. We eat and drink and commune and do all these things in the default world. So there are challenges, right, that are posed in the default world that I think sometimes kind of infiltrate. We don't even recognize the way they're playing out in a place like, let's say, BRC. So, and COVID in particular, I think, for society at large, right, it's created a bunch of challenges. But I also think it's created opportunities, most of which are, maybe I'm pessimistic, but many of which have been squandered, right? To rethink capitalism. There are systems that, it worked for some people, worked well enough, but fundamentally broken. And those for whom it's always kind of been broken, it's like, it's still broken for them, but now we see the way in which the system is truly broken. And until COVID, it's hard for a lot of folks to see it. I have higher hopes that the Burning Man community can both in learn from COVID, but also take the recognition of what we're feeling and seeing now, even when we're post-pandemic. How do we take that as a kind of seed for learning? And I think when it comes to issues of social justice and racial justice, there's a particular need and a particular opportunity there. And I know, Harley, I just want to also say thank you, because I know within the Burning Man, staff world and this world, basically, folks who have been investing in Burning Man and making it happen, there's a whole set of challenges to do that work and to do it well and authentically and transparently. And I just want to say, Harley, thank you for the way you've approached it with respect to Burning Man. So enough of my ranting. I want to get on to having folks introduce themselves. It's going to be a pretty free-flowing conversation here. But I'll start just a little bit about me. Level said, right, I'm a co-founder and for, I guess, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ran Color of Change. I'm still involved in that world, helping start organizations, run campaigns related to racial justice, social justice, economic justice, and so on. For my first time, my wife gave me the wedding present of going to Burning Man. I've been nagging about this for many years. In 2003, we went. She hasn't been back. I haven't been able to not go back, except for things like the pandemic and like, a few moments of life happening. We're like, yeah, you can't go to Burning Man this year. But anyway, enough about me. Let's see. With intros, I mean, go ahead, Level. You can start. I mean, you've already been a known factor here, but go ahead and say a bit about yourself.
Sure. I've been talking a lot, so I'll keep it really brief. I started Burning in 2009. For the longest time before actually working at Burning Man Project, I worked for the city and county of San Francisco, working on equity work. And it sort of was like being in the right place at the right time, also working for Burning Man Project. I think that the equity work that we did for the city was about how can we fund communities and organizations that were, historically marginalized or under-resourced, and how can we improve, gaps in learning and job training and all sorts of other things. Anyway, I won't go into all that now, but I think, I really appreciate being a part of the Burning Man community because the way we can dialogue about this feels a little bit more advanced than other spaces that I've been in. And so I'm really glad that I get to be at the helm of placement and think about how we can facilitate, even more of this flourishing around camps and around the world. That's a little about me. Can I just popcorn it and ask maybe Trance to introduce himself?
Hello, good morning. My name is Trance. I am a 19-year burner. I started going in 2001. I am the mayor of Crossroads, which is the largest live music camp on the playa. It is also probably one of the most diverse camps on the playa. My interest in this particular discussion is one of curiosity and a need to understand where people are coming from, what they're looking for, what they're trying to create, and how we can sort of use the seedling of Burning Man to sort of change the world in terms of how we discuss diversity, how we make diversity real and not tokenism, not the numbers thing. It should be, what we're trying to do is create a real sense of community, a community that works for all of us together. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. Word. Let's see. Aaron, you want to go next?
Hello, everyone. It's afternoon here. I'm Erin. 3 years. I've been to Burning Man since 2017. I don't think I had any real interest in going to Burning Man at the time, but I had known about it for about 7 years, and a good friend gifted me a ticket, and I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why I went and would have gone. She gifted me a ticket, and I came back not really knowing what I experienced, and then started Black Burner Project my second year in 2018, and been going hard with that ever since. So that's me, short and sweet.
Great. Prince Yummy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Prince. I'm at Yummy Rumination. I'm one of the co-leads and Camp Daddy, however you want to describe it. We do rotations, so I could be Camp Daddy for this year and not next year, who knows? Let's see, my first year I went out to the burn was 2006. And I got married at Burning Man in 2019 under the Shrine of Sympathetic Resonance that I helped build. with our friend Tyson. And I'm really excited to be here today. It's so funny. I learned about Burning Man, if we're answering that question, I learned about Burning Man, one of my friends at a country line dance bar in Davis, California, said, hey, I'm going camping out in the desert. Would you like to go and carry my stuff? You have a truck. I'll take care of everything. And I'm like, actually, I knew about camping at Death Valley. So I was like, sure, let's go camping. That's all the instructions I got. I picked him up. We drove out to his desert farm in Nevada, and we picked up a bunch of his stuff, and we went out, and all of a sudden I saw the lights, and I was like, what is that? And I lasted 3 days and ran out of there so fast. I was so shocked. My mind was exploded. But then I was reintroduced to Burning Man. I was like, these heathens. I was raised really religious, so someone just dropped me in there. I was just like, what's happening? But then I came back, and because I was introduced to it through Love Fest in San Francisco, and my playa mother took me on a guided tour for the whole year of all the burner parties and introduced me to a community, and I haven't stopped going since.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad I'm not following up my statement coming after that, because that was wild. I don't know if it's Ariel or Ariel. You have to tell me.
Yep. Hi, everybody. My name is Ariel, and it's great to be on this panel with all of you. It's an honor, and I'm excited to be with you today. So I am the co-founder of Gender Blender. I've been burning since 2005. And I've never missed a burn. Obviously, last year I was not on playa because of COVID, but it's been, 15 years in a row of being out there. And Gender Blender is a camp that is designed to be a safe haven for trans and non-binary and genderqueer and gender expressive and exploring and questioning people. And we also really serve to educate people and to give all people the space to be gender expansive and explore their gender. And it's a way bigger journey and project than what just happens every year in the desert. For me, when I started this theme camp, really the goal was to start a much wider community and to really just give people an opportunity to learn more about the trans and non-binary community. And so I'm really proud of how far we've come in the 12 years of existing as a community and as a camp, and the work that we do on playa and off playa. We teach workshops, we throw really inclusive and amazing safer sex play parties. And I think a lot of the things that we do are just very expansive. And I feel really thankful that the desert gave us that space to start the journey to build something way bigger than just the 1 week. And the other thing that I want to lift up and highlight is that I'm also the co-founder of Queer Dome, which is the first ever queer-centered psychedelic harm reduction space. And I think it's been really important to have that space. We launched it in 2019 on Playa, and as soon as we're able to go back to in-person events, we plan to be at those kinds of spaces and events and holding that sacred space for people who are on those journeys and need extra support. So, and then I just want to also name that for me, diversity and inclusion is work that I'm doing year round. I run an organization called Shine Diversity, and our whole focus is justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we actually go into nonprofits, places of faith, corporations, and we teach trainings, we do consulting, we do curriculum writing and policy writing. So I'll put the links to both the Gender Blender project as well as Shine Diversity into the chat box so you can all check it out.
Wonderful, wonderful. Been to some good gender blender parties over the years as well. And Crossroads, I'll just say in Crossroads, I didn't add it all up. I didn't get it all together. I don't want to take up too much space, but that was a moment. And I remember when Jazz Mafia, because I live in San Francisco, came, and one of the things I'd been missing was like, I mean, I love, the dance music and everything, but I also love live, especially live funk and live, and that happened on the playa was just like a thing for me, a big thing. So anyway, thank you for that. Harley, please tell us.
I'm just so excited we're having this panel. I feel like we've really gotten someplace. You guys can look up my bio on the website. So I want to tell you some things you wouldn't know about me that's not going to come up in a bio. My daughter is 17. She just got her first real job. And I was telling her about my first real job. And I kind of put all this stuff together in a different way I hadn't thought about before. I feel like I'm really driven to help do this work right now because my father was a minister and a public school administrator. And my first job was working with him to integrate the bus system. And so my first job was to put pins in the map of our city for all the Asian people, for all the Black people, for all the brown people, so we could see where they all lived, so that we could get buses to their kids to get them to go to school. So I feel like the work we're doing now, like, is bringing me back to my roots and to the kind of work I believe in doing. So that's all I want to say right now, because you guys can look at my bio. I ran the city for a while. I started a whole bunch of the stuff that I started placement. Placement's actually my home. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. It's the first thing I created for Burning Man. So I love the symposium and I love being around camps.
Thank you. All right. So again, my first question, and some of y'all touched on this in your intros, but to the degree you feel like you want to say more or you didn't speak to this, please just jump in. And the question is, what brought you to Burning Man and what has kept you going to Burning Man?
I guess I'll extend on what I was saying. So I got a ticket. Was not interested. I'm a solo traveler. I'm a photographer, and I was nervous. It was not the same. And so when I went, and not only was it not the same, but I was nervous about simple things like, will I be the only Black person? What to do with my hair? There were so many elements that I just wasn't used to, and I kind of took those nerves and put it in my pocket. I was really aware of it. And when I got there, like Prince, it was overwhelming. I had no clue what I was going through. I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know how I felt. So honestly, although I saw more people of color than I expected, I was not sure if I was going back after when I left. There were a lot of things that I learned, but I just didn't know how I felt. It was mind blowing and I just couldn't figure it out. And so, but this idea of my passion is to encourage and inspire people to explore the world, to travel, and I do that through my photography. So this idea of needing to go back to photograph people of color just nagged me to death every day. And it was outside of my element and my comfort zone, but I knew that if things lined up, if I could get a ticket, if Burning Man said yes to this idea that I had, then I would go back. What I did know is that even though I couldn't articulate it, I knew it was special, I knew it was unique, and I knew that more people like me needed to see it and needed to feel, just see themselves. And I think just that simple act would just sum up a lot of things for people without even doing too much more. And so everything lined up, and that's what took me back. And that work has taken me back, for 2 years now. I love it. I love my camp, which is Street Life Camp, and the people that I have met through the project. So, between continuing the work, knowing the individual conversations that I've had with people throughout the past 3 years who now want to know so much information, that keeps me going back. And and then now knowing, having worked with you, Harley, and everyone else on really trying to figure out, real action steps and things behind diversity and getting the playa to look how it should and to make it, and just so people feel like they're welcomed. Everyone knows you are when you're there, but on the outside, you don't know anything about Burning Man. So, so yeah, that sums up why I go back.
Any others have things to share on that?
Yeah, like many people in the Black community. I was like, I am not interested in this at all when I first went. In my mind, it was a bunch of white hippie people taking drugs in the desert, listening to techno music, and that did not sound enjoyable to me. But a friend of mine was like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I was like, nothing. She's like, we're going to Burning Man. She had just broken up with a boyfriend and she had an extra ticket. And she was like, we're going. And so I went, and also like Prince and Aaron, I was overwhelmed. I cried when the sun went down, the lights came up, and I saw how epic this place was. And then I left and I was like, yeah, it was great, but it was a little bit too much for me. So I think I skipped the next year, and then I went back the following year and started to develop a community out there, and then started bringing my friends who were all as skeptical as I was about going to the desert. And then we realized we should bring music, because speaking about diversity, it was not very diverse in the early 2000s musically. It was a lot of all the time, everywhere. So we built a small camp with small little lights and a bass amp as our speakers, and we did the "if you build it, they will come" model. And Crossroads is named because not only is there a diversity in our music, there's also diversity in our camp. And we knew from the beginning, like, we wanted to include our friends who hadn't been, our friends who were queer, our friends who were gay, our friends who were women, Black, Latino, Asian. And so we named that. We got that name not just because of the music, but because our life goal is to be diverse. And so we keep coming back, or I keep coming back, because I've always said, we're trying to make this town real. We're trying to make this "I don't see color" thing go away. I want you to see my color. I want you to recognize my beautiful brownness as I recognize you and all your spectrum. And that doesn't separate us. That's what binds us together. It's those little differences that make it awesome. So every year we come back and try to do it better and bigger. That's why I'm here now.
Right on. I'm also now thinking about the food that I ate at Crossroads, like Southern cuisine at a high level. But anyway, so thank you for that too. Other folks have answers to that prompt, because this is rich so far.
I'd love to go. This would be my 30th year. So my first year was 1991, and it was 250 people, and it was a weekend camping trip. And what I've seen happen is that every year is different. It's always different. And that's the beauty of it. And what we've come to know how to do at Burning Man, and I mean the collective we, absolutely all of us, is take a pulse on what our communities, where we're going. What does our community want? Who do we want to be? And then let that manifest itself. Support it where it needs to be, and let it grow and become. And I feel like this is a moment right now. This moment right now is this new step we're taking. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing where it is in 3 years. I have a 3-year rule. The first year you do something, everyone goes, what? And if it's good, they go, you did it wrong. And I was like, oh, that means we succeeded, because now everyone's invested. In the second year, everyone engages to make it better. In the third year, it's good. So I hope we're on the 3-year plan here.
I'm trying to get this, I'm trying to formulate this right. There's what, I know for myself, and I love what you just said in terms of like, being seen as your beautiful Black self, and, all that you entail. At the same time, then there are associations, you see someone, a Black man, consciously, subconsciously, in our culture, certain things happen. And that you could be on playa or not, you know what I mean? There's still that. And so like, in terms of, it's really a riff on what you had said, Trance, just into a question, which is, what do you want? This is for anyone. What do you want? What would you like in terms of how to be seen, how to be received? Because you don't want to not be seen. And I think this is one of these things that trip up folks, trip up white folks in particular. I think sometimes it's like, I don't know, but I don't want to like harp on the fact that I recognize what you look like, and but I also don't want to make you invisible. So what do I do? So just as most of the folks here, not the panel, but the greater room here, how do we want, or how do you want to be seen, would you say, and how and be engaged, especially when you have your folks, it's a different story, but with folks you don't know, right, or in a camp that's not your camp.
I can answer that. Hi, this Prince. I would like to. My mother used to say, if I would use to start to describe someone, and I would use race to describe them, she would like, use other words. You have so many other words. Talk about their outfit, talk about their hair. Just be like, oh, look at that person with the beautiful hair, curly hair over there on your left. It's not just look at that Black person over there. So it's when people see me, I want them to internally know and see the diversity of me, but I want them to comment on just me as a person. Who am I? Hi, how are you? Oh my God, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you, Black man. It's just so good to see you. And that's what I want. So, at the beginning, when I showed up, I'm the one who gave that quote on one of the videos when someone would say, oh my God, number 9. And I'd be like, oh, come get a shot. And, at first I'd be like, I remember thinking like, whoa, I was like, okay, let me go get a shot. I'll go get a shot. But it was like, wow, you're the 9th Black person we've seen. This is awesome. That's like year 1, as Harley was saying. That's year 1. But now we're past that. So if that's where you are in your development, or where you're at in your, I'll take it. I'll take the shot. But I want to get past that to where it's just like, yo, Prince, yo, you beautiful person. Come hang out. Come take a shot with me. Not you, Black person, come take a shot with me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Prince. And I think that's I wanted, when I created Black Burner Project, I wanted for both POC communities and for non-POC communities. It's for everyone, because I want you, non-person of color, to see us as part of the community and not look at us like we're some alien just coming down for a visit, and being so surprised, and it being so focused, like you said, Prince, on just my color. And as special as it is to see another person of color, a Black woman or man on the playa, and how beautiful it is, especially as different as it is from back home, I don't want it to feel like it's so special and so unique. Also, I want it to be like, we do these things, not all of us are the same. It's for all of us. And we know each other unique, but we're not embracing each other in the same way, just because like, oh my gosh, you're here too. I think I just want it to be different. In the reasons why we're embracing. I still want the embrace. I still want the acknowledgement of each other, because it's so beautiful, but I want more of us to come, and when we're there, know that it's just all of us, everyone here. So yeah.
Ariel, were you trying to get in next? Please do so.
Sure. I have so much to say on this, because I feel like the first year that I came to Burning Man, I had this feeling that when you come through the gate, that everything is going to just drop from the real world, and you'll be in this like magical, beautiful, almost like a fantasy. And then I realized pretty quickly that that's just not true, that you walk through the gate and it's not like people walk through the gate and their racism just disappears, or their sexism or their transphobia. It's like, no, everything we have, the whole water that we're swimming in, just comes right with us. And we have to keep doing all the things we do off playa, on playa, right? So for me, I steep everything in my activism, and Gender Blenders always had a social justice mission. So every year we're teaching workshops that have a social justice focus. We're always doing inclusion workshops. And I know that KViva and POC Camp does that too. And I have this dream of seeing more camps doing that, giving more space for that, giving more space for those types of conversations and education, because it's not like overnight you're going to figure out not just how do I end racism, but how do I become an anti-racist? Like, it takes a community. It's a community of practice. And so for me, doing this work only exists because I've been meeting other people and being in deep community. And so that's what I'm hoping that Gender Blender is offering, is a space to be in deep community with other people. And I also just hope that, you know, I would love to see what would Burning Man look like if people who are on the margins were in the center. And what would that feel like? Like, what if it was just a POC normalized space? What if it was a queer normalized space, right? Like, we're still on the margins. We're still holding our own spaces in the playa. We're not the main center culture. We're still like we're the sides of the culture, right? And I feel like when you think about permaculture, I've always been taught that like the edges of the garden are actually like the most important. It's like how new life is going to spring forward. So I still think that there's a lot of edges of Burning Man that needs to come to the center, and for us to be in that great experiment. And I want to say, as a white person, I have had the opportunity to be in spaces where I'm not the center, where my race is not the center, where whiteness is not normalized. And those have been some of the most magical and amazing spaces to get that opportunity to recenter and to re-understand, to step out of a white dominant culture. And after being in those types of spaces, I started realizing, like, that's how white supremacy is going to end, is when this is not the mainstream dominant culture, when we can experience something different. And I think Playa is that opportunity to experiment. It's the opportunity to see something different and then bring that back out with us into all of the aspects of our lives.
No, that's great. And Ariel, when you talked about thinking, oh, when I show up, it's going to be all this great, you know, everything's going to get shed from everyone, and realizing that's not the case. I remember, I think maybe my first year or some, you know, but going through, no, it's probably my first year, right? As I'm entering it, I mean, I spent a lot of time in, like, you know, predominantly, you know, I was part of my school and the only Black kid in the class. So I feel like you know, if there's nothing else I've learned, is how to, like, exist in a sea of white folks, and, like, you know, it's fine. Not exactly, that's what therapy is for, but, like, it's fine. You know, you're gonna end up with that. But I remember going through, having a similar kind of idea or hope or something, and upon entry, you know, welcome home, and I'm like, oh, this is y'all's home, but I'm glad I'm visiting. Like, it just, the ownership, you know, and I think for white folks, but maybe it's, I'm not picking on white men, but where there's shit that confronts you pretty much on the daily, and you know, it's there, and it's kind of there, your awareness of it's there, like, for, you know, protection. I think that you can shed a lot if you don't have some of the stuff that we are saddled with, right? So that way of, like, oh, come home, okay, I get it, it's your home. And over time, you know, I mean, over 15 whatever years it's been, I know how it exactly is my home. Sometimes when someone's saying welcome home, I'm like, it's all good, because I know how to hold it now. But that reality being there, and the fact that I think, you know, I hadn't thought about it, you know, from you know, let's say a perspective of someone, you know, my things, you know, the thing that marks me, right, and where I think certain dangerous presumptions come in, is around race and gender as well, you know, Black man. But others, you know, it's a different formulation, but that we hold it invisibly for the most part. The person who's saying welcome home has no idea, right? And so what I also am enjoying about this conversation is that this is, you know, we're talking about it. Folks don't get a chance normally to you know, hear this stuff. I was going to ask a different question, but I don't know if anyone had anything on that.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to add, you know, I think about my first time at Burning Man, or my first exposure to Burning Man. It was definitely like, wow, there's a lot of white people wrestling in the mud, and I don't know what else they're doing out there. And so it was interesting. I have to give a lot of credit, though, to a lot of white people, because it is a predominantly white city and culture, because I actually, for the most part, felt welcome. And I was like, wow, I was not expecting this. And it gave me a little bit more faith in people and white people, to feel like, okay, there are white people in the world that actually will welcome you to their homes and their front doors. I grew up in a predominantly Asian community, in a predominantly immigrant community. And so we weren't invited to you know, different types of homes all the time. And so it was really interesting. And I think oftentimes in this conversation, or when this topic comes up, people think you have to make these grand overtures or like set aside funds and do all these extra things. Those are great. And I'm not saying don't do that. But, you know, we talk about microaggressions, we talk about just micro actions that actually do matter too. You know, if you're in a group of people that are just your group of friends and they all happen to be of the same background, of course, you're not going to think about how can I be more inclusive, but guess what? There might be someone that's riding by on a bike or deciding to walk through to just say, hey, what's going on here? How can you open up that circle? How can you open that circle in that moment in time? Those are micro things people can do to help people feel welcome. And those are things that I'm often thinking about, both in the default world and in Black Rock City. You know, are there, at any given moment in time, like how open am I? How welcoming am I? And it's okay not to be if you're like, you know, need your own space and time. But those are questions that I think are really, that if people can embody and actively think about, are going to really help, because it's not about these grand overtures. It's actually, a lot of it's just about these micro actions to help people realize that, yes, you belong here, you're welcome here, you're one of us. Yeah, and I think people do that in little ways that need to get recognized.
Yeah, that level, thanks for that. You know, people, like you said, people talk about microaggressions. There's these micro love moments or something, or micro, you know, and that's huge. And holding that question for ourselves, I try to do a version of that too. Like, how am I engaging folks who I don't know, who are just not familiar? Am I even engaging? You know, why not? You know, so, one other thing is, and maybe this was clear, but maybe it wasn't, the folks saying welcome home. The thing here is, I believe they sincerely mean it. And they're sincere. I mean, it's a micro love moment, let's say. But there's like, for me, I'm not trusting that. You know, there's the things that we bring, right? And so I think that's the other thing, is there's sometimes when, you know, folks who are authentically saying, hey, congregate, and I'm like, oh, what's that? Why do you know, and you don't want to, like, you know, kind of shit on that or not fully recognize someone really trying to, you know, be engaged with you, right? But that's our reality, right? You know, we have to figure it out. And so anyway, I also think it's important for folks who may encounter someone like myself, let's say, I'm speaking for myself, might bring like suspicion, whatever it is, to know it's not even a personal thing necessarily. Just, you know, there's this little delta here, and that's how it shows up. Francis, did you want to say something?
Well, actually, I remember in 2019 at, I think Aaron's Black Family Picnic Day or Family Reunion Day, there was this moment where a bunch of Black burners gathered on Deploy or something to take a picture, and there was a lot of discussion happening. And one of the things that was common among many, many Black people that were there was this transition from our expectations of interactions with white people from the default world into this new reality. We all of us had experienced this moment you were speaking of, a suspicion or wariness, you know, like what do they want? What am I being set up for? What boundary are they about to cross? There was a lot of discussion about just trying to shed that, like, your real life experiences, and be open to these burners, you know, because many white people are very, very welcoming and very open armed, and they want to hug you, but you're like, hug me? Like, wait, this white lady wants to hug me, and it's cool, and nobody's, you know, it's a weird transition. So yeah, I mean, I guess that is good for people to understand that that's what we're going through when we meet you initially in our first burn or two. And also, like, you can just help by like not saying, hi, Black man, you know, or hey, Black girl, so glad you guys made it. Like, you know, yeah, like everybody's been saying, just see us as people, recognize our diversity, but have that not be the center of your connection with us. Get to know us as people and understand where we're coming from. That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah. And love, I haven't been looking at the chat, so I know there's only a minute or so left here, I think, if I'm right about the clock. So I don't know if anything's come in that would be helpful to throw on the table here. And if you haven't, go ahead.
I haven't kept my eyes too much on chat, but we do actually have about 5 minutes left. So I wonder if any of our panelists want to share, kind of closing thoughts. Ariel, I think, hello, I see your fingers.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would love to just share something that Gender Blender is up to now that I want to invite you all to participate in, which is that, when we weren't able to go to Playa, we were like, what does it mean to be Gender Blender? What does it mean to be a community of people that's used to gathering in person, whether that's, holding a potluck or doing a facilitated workshop or actually getting ourselves to Playa year after year. And when we met, we decided that what it means to be a community in this time during this pandemic is to really figure out what is the way that we can support those in our community that have been the most harmed by the pandemic and in general are faced with some of the most oppression. And so we decided we wanted to create a grant called the Black Lives Matter Trans Grant Program, Gender Blender Black Lives Matter Trans Grant Program. And this grant program has been amazing. The way we did the fundraising for the program was I just started calling people being like, hey, if you didn't go to Playa, does that mean you have some cash that you didn't use this year? Would you want to donate to this amazing grant? And the grant really helps Black trans people that need basic things like housing, food, healthcare. And we've already been able to give money to 14 people directly. We've raised over $19,000. And we are now in the process of raising more money. And my invitation is, I just want to name that in this process of raising money, that we have received a lot of money from queer community and a lot of money from trans people. And I would love to see burners that are not part of those identities donate to this and be part of this with us. So it doesn't just feel like, wow, queer community once again knows how to help each other, and trans community once again knows how to help each other, and Black community once again is showing up to give all the donations and keep it going. Like, I would love to see burners that are not part of those communities be like, yes, I want to support this initiative, and yes, I want to do this work with you, and yes, we want to be doing this in collaboration with Gender Blender, because my goal for this is not to have it be the Gender Blender Black Lives Matter Trans Grant, but to just be like, let's have it be a Burning Man Black Lives Matter Trans Grant program. So that's my call, is to invite you all to do this with us. And I'll put the link in the chat. I'll also put my phone number. I'm always happy to collaborate, and I'm always happy to stay in community and build this with all of you.
Right on. Thanks, Harriet. Oh, go ahead.
I would also just like to say, people are always asking, I got asked one time, Prince, how, I asked to be on another camp's advisory board for how to increase their diversity. And I asked the person, I said, when's the last time you had a person of color over your home for dinner? And they didn't have an answer for that. I said, it starts there. You don't get someone to go camping with you, whether they're Black, white, anything, if you haven't eaten with them. I mean, if you haven't broken bread with them, if you haven't, taken a shot with them. So it's not this massive undertaking, it's very important that it's very important that you have an inclusive environment once they arrive. And once they arrive to your home for dinner. But that's other work that you have to do with yourself. But I'm just saying, it's really important that, you just invite people over your home, see someone at the bar, see someone out. And now we've been so tribal through COVID, right? We've been like, oh, you're not in my circle. And now we have to just shed all that and get back to radical inclusion and inviting people into our spaces that don't look like us.
What I love about what you just said is, I think often people are like, well, the question I was going to ask is in this vein, what are we supposed to do as a theme camp? Like what are the steps? Or what are the tactics? And maybe there are, some suggestions you all have or ideas about, and there's a lot that's been said already and some, but specific, let's say to, those, creating and running a camp. But what you just said, Prince, so much of it's about, well, just where you come, what's your daily practice as a human, right? And if you get that, because that's where it manifests. And, I would blow the analog here, but it's like, I think this may be around adoption. My kids are adopted, and I just have a whole little set of conversations in that world. And so, like, white folks wanting to adopt children of color, and they're trying to get the tactics right. They're trying to figure out how to set themselves up for it. And so one of the things that this adoption facilitator would say to those families who are looking for her to help then place a child. They were seeking a kid of color. It's like, okay, it's equivalent of have you had anyone to dinner? It's like, oh, have you spent time? You're trying to understand your kids in this environment dominated by folks who don't look like them and white folks. Have you gone to like a black church if you're a churchgoer? Have you gone to a black barbershop? Because there are white people who go to black barbershops too, and it's like, oh, and there's a big block, and some of them they don't come back. They're like, oh, that was interesting, and they change their adoption plan, right? Because it's a big personal, we don't even see sometimes the things that are at work. So along with it, I really appreciate that, because that speaks to, it's not an outward tactic you can do like to get it done. It's work you got to do to get it done. So in the moment that we have, I guess the last question is, if you all have, I guess, any last thoughts or speaking to the issue of, what can folks who are holding the camps, right, theme camps, do different? What should they do different?
I just want to say thanks for bringing that up, Prince, because I get approached often by camp leads about the same thing, and you hit it spot on, and you want to be authentic. It's not about Black Rock City, you bring everything into Black Rock City, but it's way more than Black Rock City, and you want to be authentic. By the time you get there, you want to be able to have this space where it's inclusive and comforting and all these other things. Think about your interests. If you're interested in art, are you going to see Black artists or POC artists? Are you putting yourself in an environment where that's what you're going to be surrounded by? It's diversity, and then you can have conversation, authentic ones, and not make it something that's just a numbers. Let me just bring Black people in. Really be authentic about it, just like anyone else, but intentional about it as well. And, so it's going to start there. And sorry for the noise. It's going to start beforehand, and that's real basic. And that will take you really far. There will be some other things, but just start there. And other than that, Black Burner Project will be doing a lot of things. So please come, support Black Burner Project. And I'm so grateful to be on this panel with all of you.
Anybody else? I know. So please, I don't want to cut anybody off. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've nailed it. Like, if you don't have diverse friends, you won't have a diverse camp. That's pretty straightforward. If your world is monochromatic, your camp will likely be the same. But if you do happen to be from like Ashland, Oregon or something, or someplace that's primarily white, and you happen to just have white friends who live in your neighborhood, that's fine. You don't offend us. We're not offended by the fact that you don't have Black people in your camp. Don't feel like, we have this overwhelming need for you to look like us or be with us. That's not it. Just understand where you are in the world, and if you want to make a difference, then make a difference. But if you don't and you're cool with where you are, I'm cool with where you are. I can't speak for everybody.
Thanks, Trance. Thank you, James. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Harley. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Prince. We're going to have to wrap up this panel, but it was a rich conversation. There are two radical inclusion, diversity, and equity panels or workshops happening in the afternoon. I highly encourage you all to join those. And this is an ongoing conversation outside of just this event, so please stay tuned. There was a town hall meeting that Burning Man Project put on in October. We're planning to do another sometime this summer or fall. And there's many ways to plug in, which we'll be sharing in a bit. But before that, I want to kind of mix up the media of how we experience this. We want to take you back to Black Rock City, and with a short video. If you need to run and do a bio break, go ahead and do that right now too. But it's about a 5-minute video called The Build, presented by our amazing docs team, which is another group of volunteers that helps us create media and document Burning Man all around the world. So I think that's queued up. I will shut up now.
It's been called a social experiment. post-apocalyptic training. Some call it home. A temporary city emerges in the desert, once each year. No status, no government, no currency. A society focused on the individual. 1 week of celebrating humanity, expression, and collaboration. One by one, they arrive into dust storms and scorching heat. The city has been constructed and dismantled by its attendees over 30 times. By the end, art and buildings will be burnt to ashes. No trace will be left until next year, where it will be rebuilt again. A community eager to reconnect, to explore, to build what their imaginations can conceive. And share what makes them unique. This experiment isn't about discovering a supreme being. It's about discovering what's supreme in ourselves. A recalibration of the spirit. A reminder to step outside our bubbles, put down our screens, and rediscover ourselves above the noise. To surrender, let go, and co-create a world together. This city is a labor of love. Thousands of people working together to build a world that's meaningful. One that creates unity. A reminder that we are all interconnected. We begin to realize this isn't about you or me. It's about us and what we create together. And when we work together in a tribe, combining our energies, something becomes awakened in us. The ego begins to fade. The self becomes dedicated to something beyond you, that's greater than you. No inhibitions, no judgment, no boundaries. A pilgrimage to disconnect, to look inward, and to explore the self.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Lots of chills. I got chills. I know you want to watch that again and put it on repeat, probably. We'll share a link to that shortly. Oh, actually, ladies and gentlemen, just shared it. Gosh, man, watching videos like that just make me want to go there even faster, and I'm sure for you too. So 2022, it's coming up in a little over a year. We want to spend the remainder of this time, we're going to be wrapping up close to 1, to share with you various things to plug into and how we can build together, not just Black Rock City, but this entire community that we're a part of. And so I'm going to be calling a series of speakers up who will be sharing different projects that are going on that you can plug into, and kind of different supports too. So the first folks that we'll be pulling up are from the camp support team. So we have Captain Vic and PETA, who will be telling you a little bit more about what they are offering. So Captain Vic, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Okie doke. Well, with this 2-year hiatus that we've had to put up with, it's put a huge strain on our camps. The camps are being stressed by financially and socially and many other ways. There's going to be a lot of changes in leadership, changes in roles that you might have within your camp and so on. And with these lots of new people coming into the leadership process, there are going to be a lot of questions. You've got questions and we've got a lot of answers. I'm going to tell you about some of the resources that are available, and Peter will tell you about a few more. So moving along, we have the first slide. This is, if you do an internet search on Camp Support Team at Burning Man, you will get to the Camp Support page, which has links to most of the stuff we're going to be talking about. And there's the full URL if you like that. The first thing we have is an online guide to how to build and maintain theme camps, or all camps actually on Black Rock. And it covers many topics of interest. Some examples would be finance, leadership, culturation of new members, outside services, and many other topics. If that doesn't do it, if you don't find the answers that you want there, we have an interactive help desk. You can send an email to the help desk, and a long-time experienced camp organizer will answer your questions and do our best to give you what you need to know. Now, PETA has going to be describing some more services that Camp Support has.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Vic. Thanks so much. Maybe you're looking to contact that fun neighbor you had in 2019 or 2018, even earlier. Maybe you're in Houston and you're looking to connect with some other burners. Well, we finally have our theme camp directory archive, which is searchable. So it's a great way for you to find your friends, get connected, and stay connected. Also, we have the camp advisory and mentorship program. Maybe you're looking for some advice and mentorship from experienced camp leads. Camp matches camps and their leads with deeply experienced peer camp organizers as a source of friendly advice and support. This service is particularly appropriate for camps that are changing leadership, those that are planning major growth, or taking on new and challenging interactivity offerings. The Camp Network program, this focuses on bringing together and uniting burners both offline and online. Currently, the Camp Network is focused on partnering with the Burner Network, a 501c3 nonprofit, to establish grant programs for camps. Look forward to more information about that. Camp Network is also developing a mapping tool for camps to find one another across the world, and they are supporting camps in their effort to connect and share resources with their Place Black Rock City neighbors prior to 2022. So you can see lots of opportunities for connection. And speaking of connection, I don't know about you, but this year I've been yearning for connection, particularly with people that maybe I don't know, meeting new people. Campfire Talks is a monthly opportunity to listen, share, and connect with the community of Black Rock City camps and campers on timely, relevant, and thought-provoking topics. These online symposiums provide a forum for campers to discuss issues of interest and exchange information, similar to what we're doing today in the Camp Symposium. Previous Campfire Talk topics have included expanding consent beyond sex, being a good neighbor, and doing more with less. Our June campfire talk is revving up, and we'll be inviting international and US camp and regional leads to share their plans for what they're doing this summer and how they're navigating health and safety issues related to COVID. Check the placement newsletter and Jackrabbit Speaks for more information. And we have a link to register for the next campfire talk in the chat as well. How about some storytelling? The Stories from the City series in the Burning Man Journal showcases 1 or 2 theme camps every month. These stories inspire participation and document the fascinating community experiments that occur in Black Rock City. You can read about how one camp shares sacred rituals on the playa. Another tells a story of Feed the Artists, one of the premier art food camps in Black Rock City. Stories from the City is a great way to learn about what camps are doing, feeling connected, and feeling inspired. We've thrown a lot of information at you in this short few minutes that we have. You can always do a search for Burning Man Camp Support Team. We have the links in the chat. It's up here on the slide. You'll find many of the resources that we've just noted. Just know that we're here and we're really trying to support camps the best that we can. So you can always reach out to us at the email noted. And if you want to volunteer, let us know as well. Thanks very much. And just remember that the Camp Support volunteer team, we're here to support you. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Peta and Captain Vic. Yeah, during 2020, as we were sort of figuring out what to do and how to do it, a lot of volunteers stepped up and said, hey, where can I help? And so we created this container within Camp Support to capture all those people. So just know that container can grow, it continues to grow. And I really want to thank the leadership of PETA, Captain Vic, and actually many more volunteers, including those who put today together. So I'm going to move on because there is more projects that we want to tell you about. So next up is Sander and Trigger Warning back again to tell you more about Burner Network, which is an independent project that's here to support theme camps. And it's a completely new thing that we're debuting today.
Oh, here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandor. I am a volunteer for Camp Support. I'm also the TCO of Hoopla. It's a Houston-based camp that serves breakfast tacos every morning on the playa. With me is Trigger Warning. She is also a volunteer and the mayor of Blissfit's Retirement Village. We and a collection of other people on this call are all focused on a new effort called Burner Network, which is separate from the Burning Man Project, that's focused today on launching a new grant program for camps called the Camp Honoraria Program. If you change the slide. So a bit of background, as many of you know, camps have been greatly impacted financially by the pandemic. A lot of folks haven't been able to do the fundraisers that they normally do. Not building BRC has made it difficult for some camps to collect money, dues, and other forms that help them pay for their camps and storage and things of that nature year round. We have all sort of seen that and seen camps out on social media selling off part of their critical infrastructure, some camps folding up entirely, and we've been very concerned about that. When it comes to art, big art, the Black Rock City Honoraria Program gives out $1 million each year to art projects, but there really hasn't been anything similar to that in nature for camps. And we have asked that question, why not? And in the spirit of being reliant, we have created this. It's the Camp Honoraria Program. Next slide. So at a high level, it's a $50,000 to start annual grant program. We're giving out somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000 to camps to help them cover budget shortfalls. If you are thinking about, gosh, how am I going to pay for my storage spot? over the next few months. And there's a hole that we can help fill. This is what this is designed for. It's need-based, and it's designed to help camps that are facing the toughest financial issues. We have a couple of requirements. One, the camp needs to be in good standing with placement. Thanks to Level and the placement folks that have agreed to help us screen that. And camps need to also be working to return to the playa in 2022. Next slide, please. Fundraising. So this is a radical self-reliant burners helping burners by the people for the people efforts. We've raised $5,000 so far pre-launch. A generous person in Trigger Warnings Camp, Bliss Fits Retirement Village, has offered to match dollar for dollar the next $5,000 that we raise. And we're going to keep raising what we can. If you are able and you're in a position to support camps, there's a link down at the bottom. It's burnernetwork.org/donate. You can donate directly through the website with a credit card. We've also got information on how to contact us if you want to send a check or something similar. We've applied for a 501c3 tax exemption. So this is, if this is important to you, we should get that in June, and that'll be retroactive to all the dollars that we've received from day one. Next slide. Since we have money now, we want to go ahead and open up the grant program to camps that need money now. We tried to make this process as simple as we can. There's a Google form, there's a short interview, there's the placement check that we talked about, some light paperwork, and then we get you money. We've got a soft deadline of the end of June, June 30th, for folks in sort of this first round, but we'll continue to accept applications year round. We want to get folks back to the playa in 2022. Next slide. We also need volunteers. So we're looking for folks to serve on our grant committee. If you are the sort of person that likes to decide who else gets money, we want to talk to you. If you like to write grants, we're going to go federal, state, local funds as a 501c3 to try and get money for camps. And we need help spreading the word out on social media. We are launching this today, and we need your help to let other people know about it. You've seen these links at the bottom of each one of these pages. Everything is at burnernetwork.org, and we hope to see you out there. Well, that's this program. I want to turn it over to Trigger, who's going to talk about another community in need that we're trying to help support, the Paiutes.
Thanks so much, Sander. Howdy, y'all, again. Yeah, so, you know, it's a very interesting conversation that we've had, and Rasped said it, that all the different organizations that spawn out of necessity, because we know how to do these things ourselves. We don't have to point a finger and say, why aren't you doing the things? Because we know how to do them. And here we are with yet another adjacent for this community. Part of that and the work that most inspires me has to do, especially this year, with visibility. And call it reparations, call it whatever you want, but the visibility is being able to give back. So I know there's a lot of people that are planning to go out to Black Rock this year. Well, look at it as the season of giving, if you will. And we want to see you leave a trace. This is the great give back. This is working with the Pyramid Lake Paiute Council and amazing conversations with their medicine man, Dean Barlis. And want to give a shout out to Kitten for really being the catalyst and the boots on the ground. So this is us, the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation. Our community is diverse and vast in its talents, and it would make a really big impact on the Native American community to leave a trace. Next slide. And this is how to give back. There's a lot of skills within our community, whether it be helping with home repairs, building roofs, gardening and horticulture, moot removal and litter pickup, and even farther into educational services. And this doesn't mean you have to be on the ground, but if you're able and you're a teacher, and we could set up Zoom calls with students and families, it would be so appreciated. Also looking for donations of technology and books. We'll share with you our email address of how you can get in touch with us to do all of these things. Next slide. Next up, spread the word. We're officially launching these two programs today, our Camp Honoraria Grant and the Great Give Back. There's our link, theburnernetwork.org, great give back. We have all the counterpoints in place based on your skill sets to be able to connect the dots. So again, you're going out to play, you're doing the things. How can you actually leave a good trace? Take 3 days on the front end, go to the reservation. They're open hands. They would love to have you and love your help. So next slide, I think that's it. Here we are. We had a wonderful video that we wanted to share. I don't believe we have the time to do it. It lives on our website. Again, I want to thank the Pyramid Lake Paiute Council, Burning Man Project for giving us the platform, and Kitten for being a catalyst. Back to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Trigger warning. Thank you so much, Sander. This is truly burners helping other burners and burners helping the community that we are impacting and in partnering and attempting to partner with. So big applause for you all. I know some folks are asking how to get more information. Go to burnernetwork.org and you can find out more there. Next up is not an independent project of Burning Man, but a project within Burning Man. I'm gonna share a quick poll with you all because there is a space called Burning Man Hive that we're curious if you even know about. So have you participated in Burning Man Hive? Maybe you've never heard of it, maybe you have and have joined, maybe you've done a lot there. Let us know so that we can best present this next piece. We have 3 folks here, KJ, Simone, and ladies and gentlemen, who are here to talk about Burning Man Hive and how you can plug in to this new online community that we have. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Go ahead and take it away, KJ.
Thanks, Level, and lovely to see you all. My name is Karen Jacobs. You probably know me as KJ. I am from the Education Department of Burning Man Project, and we're here today to talk to you about Burning Man Hive and Hive Labs. So, buzzing right along, or moving along, however you would like. What is Burning Man Hive? This is our new online community and learning network. Here's a list of just some of the things available to our members on Hive. We are thrilled to currently have over 3,200 members of our community playing around with us in Burning Man Hive. It is possible that you haven't heard of Hive yet. We've been rolling it out gradually and fully intend that one day it will be open to all burners and burner curious throughout the world. If you think of it like Black Rock City, we're kind of in build week right now, where we're getting things set up. Some folks are in there getting it really cool, and the gates are going to open soon. So if you would like to check it out, our URL is hive.burningman.org. And you can go to that URL, hive.burningman.org, and you log in with your burner profile. All right, buzzing along. What is Hive Labs? Well, if Burning Man Hive is the house, I think that Hive Labs is the party. In Burning Man Hive, we've got spaces that need some filling up with excitement, with rich experiences, with all of our cool friends. And Hive Labs is the party that's helping us do that. It is a facilitated experience that's been guiding members through a process that supports connection and ideation with your fellow burners. We launched in mid-April the first iteration of Hive Labs, and we currently have more than 800 members who've joined to participate. It's been pretty exciting. All right, buzzing along.
Howdy, everyone. I'm Ladies and Gentleman, or Stephen Chun, pronouns he and him. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we created the Hive Labs. When the COVID-19 pandemic happened, a few months in, we knew people were really yearning to connect with one another, especially the burner network. So we had a 4-site survey where 12,000 people responded and shared their interests in sustainability, radical inclusion, diversity and equity, and health and safety. And so we did another survey afterwards, and 1,400 people responded to that and shared, or about 600 of them shared that they had ideas or projects in these areas that they wanted to help push forward or get more engaged in or learn more about. Okay, and so moving on, how can you benefit from this? Well, one of the challenges we have in these type of initiatives, right, like RIDE or sustainability, is that, the work is often siloed, right? Every theme camp is working on, sustainable solutions for gray water, right? But is there a way to connect all of us together, to collaborate together, right? So one of the main things here is that we're creating a way for you to network with all the doers and dreamers, with the mentors, with the experts, with one another, and especially the burner curious. There's been a lot of people who have never been to Burning Man, but are passionate about RIDE and sustainability and wellness that want to engage with cool projects and people like us. So through this process, we've designed it so you can find other collaborators and create clusters, which is kind of our, B theme for groups, to help launch these new initiatives. Third, you'll get to develop yourself and your projects with others, and then help accelerate the evolution of Burning Man culture, right? This is a way for everyone to come together and to start shaping Burning Man culture along these areas that are incredibly important. All right, moving on.
Simone, you're muted.
Yeah, I wasn't able to unmute. Here I am. Hi, my name is Simone. I camp with Beat Charge, and now I get to work with Burning Man Project on Hive Labs. Bees have taken over my life. So what's the honey of Burning Man Hive? First of all, creating global connections. There are people from 56 different countries and 830 different cities that have joined Burning Man Hive. During these first 5 weeks of Hive Labs, we've hosted 13 community calls that people from Australia, Germany, Hawaii, and places all over the US joined. Experienced and, like ladies and gentlemen said, brand new burners alike. For some of them, 2019 was their first burn and they found a way to plug in. Some have never even been to Black Rock City, and this is their intro to Burning Man culture. Burning Man Hive is also helping remote burners to plug in and find burners near them, because there's a nifty function, find burners near you. We've seen a lot of genuine positive engagement, no trolling. Together, we're learning, exploring, and constellating around topics that participants bring. Some existing topics like zero waste solutions. We've also been exploring how to increase participation of burners of color, how to create more welcoming spaces, and how do we do this anti-racism learning. Through Hive Labs, we've seen increased engagement in some of the sustainability efforts by the Green Theme Camp community that you heard about earlier. For example, the solar group has a bunch of new skilled solar engineers. We've also seen some new collaborative efforts emerging, like creating camp guidance on RIDE and developing a resource sharing hub for people. They're all still nascent efforts. And then Playa Magic Online. It happened on almost every call that at least one person met exactly the one person they needed to meet. For example, 2 artists ended up in the same breakout group on the first call, one of them an experienced build lead of big art, the other one wanting to build big art. The conversation started and what is now becoming the Playa Art Builders Collective, with lots of information shared on Hive on how to take a big art project from start to finish. I want to really thank the Burning Man Project leadership for investing in this, for creating the space for the Burning Man community to connect with each other. I want to thank my core team for working tirelessly. I want to thank the volunteer moderators that have joined us and all the participants who jumped in, and all of you who are here on the call jumped in to join us. So how can you participate? Like we shared the link in the chat. You can join Burning Man Hive. Just log in with your burner profile name and account. Buzzing along. To learn more, we have a breakout group. If you want to ask us questions, if you want to learn more in detail about who's there and what they're doing, it's called Reinventing How We Burn Together in Hive Labs. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Back to Level.
Thanks, Simone. Thanks, KJ. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I've also been involved in Hive. As we're not building a Black Rock City, to me, community is really important too, and how we continue to build this entire thing. So you'll see me on there. I hope to see you on there too. Next up, we have a quick presentation by Burners Without Borders, and Christopher Breedlove is the head of civic activation within Burning Man Project. And Burners Without Borders has a long history of really doing great work in the world. So we want to feature some of the work they've been doing, and that you can also help get plugged into. So Breedlove, take it away.
Great, thanks everybody. Hey, nice to be here. Anyways, yeah, I'm Christopher Breedlove, and I'm going to be representing Burners Without Borders and some of our engagement with the theme camp community today, and really kind of talking about going beyond Black Rock City, moving along. So real quick, just to, in case you don't know, Burners Without Borders, we are both a theme camp and a decentralized group of volunteers doing projects around the world. And so one of those things we've been deeply interested in over these years is how do we increase those connections? And so our mission is to unlock the creativity of local communities to solve problems that bring about meaningful change. And we do that by using all of the lessons and the skills that we've learned in Black Rock City. Moving along. So why do we love the Theme Camp Symposium? Like I said, we've noticed over the years that there is this very, regular kind of flow between Black Rock City and the world. People come to Black Rock City and they say, oh my God, the world needs to be more like Burning Man. And then they go out into the world and they bring it out there. And then people want to know how to share it, how to get involved, how they can find other burners to help. And so as Burners Without Borders, we see this Theme Camp Symposium a lot like Black Rock City. Over the last couple of years, we've been here seeding some ideas, testing them throughout the year, and then asking if they worked. Moving along. So we have been talking for the last couple of Theme Camp Symposiums about how theme camps are ambassadors of culture. And what I mean by that is that, over the decades of Black Rock City, we've really started to see that theme camps are these amazing groups that have infrastructure, have logistics, have volunteers. You guys have actually been practicing all of this work that can go out into the world so easily. And a lot of times I like to joke that if it was the end of the world, the group of people I'd want to be hanging out with is theme camps, because you guys have the ability to drop fully functioning villages all over the world. Moving along. So how does that work? What does that look like? Over the last couple of years, we've been highlighting a couple of these projects that we've either been partnering with theme camps on or just been watching theme camps do. So up in the upper left-hand corner, you can see Ideate with their offset program and the compost. Over on the right, Transformation, the Foamy Homies doing disaster relief in Florida. You can see Red Lightning with their infrastructure at Standing Rock. Camp Epic Square One with their container houses in Santa Rosa. Mayan Warrior bringing shift pods after the hurricane relief and also bringing their reefer truck after the Santa Rosa fires. Comfort and Joy doing their Burners Give Back project. And so you see there's a lot of history of this happening already. Moving along. So after all of these years that we have been watching this, we said, how can we make this easier? So 2 years ago, we launched the idea at the Theme Camp Symposium to talk about doing BWB resource partners. So basically, it's the idea that most theme camps only use their infrastructure for maybe 1 or 2 months a year, and the rest of the year it's sitting in storage or in a container somewhere. So how do we find where that infrastructure is, who has it, and how we could get it, and how we could get it out into the world? And so we have a page on BWB called Resource Partners, and that's exactly what we do. We ask theme camps, mutant vehicles, and art collectives what infrastructure you have, where you keep it, and who to contact. And then when projects emerge in the world, we're able to then connect those projects with all of you who have this infrastructure. And what we do as BWB is we listen to the projects and we make sure they're worthy of kind of making that connection. And then we set camps and projects up together. Moving along. You know, we started this idea, like I said, and we have maybe about 35 people in our resource map right now. And one of the awesome things is that COVID gave us a great example to see how this works. And I just wanted to show these two photos. On the left side, you see Playa Tech over there, and on the right side, you see Love Tribe. And both of these are theme camps that had shade. And they realized that during the pandemic, schools needed more outdoor classroom areas. And so that's exactly what these camps did. They brought out their shade, they built them, and they helped students do outdoor learning during the pandemic. And I just wanted to give snaps to both of those camps for doing that in a really amazing way. Moving along. So the question is, you know, where do we go from here, and how do we continue? Moving along. And what we want to do today is invite you to become a resource partner, because we want to continue to figure out how to match these people and these resources. And we know that the larger the database we have, and we eventually imagine we'll be able to start doing this with regional events and their camps too, we'll start to be able to see even cooler projects emerging. Moving along. And so to kind of wrap this up, you know, I know you guys have already heard about the Green Theme Camp community, but we're really proud to be partnering with them. And you can start to see, right? There's already these projects that are happening, right? And now the Green Theme Camp community is starting to think about how to make this greener infrastructure. And so when all of this comes together, right, you start to see that theme camps can actually be leaders in creating sustainable regenerative base camps all over the world. Whether that's for outdoor events, whether it's for schools, a future disaster relief, maybe even humanitarian situations, you can really start to see how our community is sitting on this treasure trove of resources. And not only just this treasure trove of resources, but resources that are going to be able to be the most applicable in the coming year, which we know is probably going to see so many more fires, disasters, and things like that. Moving along. And just to finish it up, just to remind you that BWB is here to be your partner at any time. You don't have to be a BWB chapter to do a project with BWB. We're here to support you in your initiative, whatever it is. And so if we can help you with toolkits or learnings from what we have done in the past, if we can connect you with resources or experts in the field, or even if we can help get your project to have more visibility amongst the Burning Man project channels, again, that's what we're here for. It doesn't have to be a BWB project. What's important to us is impact in the world. That's what we want to see. And so last slide, moving along, please at any time contact us, email us, bwb@burningman.org. You can also look up burnerswithoutborders.org/themecamp, and that is a bunch more resources that we've been collecting over the year. And really reach out to us, let us know what we're doing, because we want to celebrate the good work you're doing out in the world with you. Thanks so much, everybody, and glad to be here.
Thanks so much, Love. It's always amazing to see how much BWB is doing to help coordinate all efforts, also help coordinate theme camps outside of Black Rock City. So really appreciate that. We are a little behind on time, just wanted to acknowledge that. And so we have about 3 different presentations still to go through, so we'll try to zoom through those quickly. Next up is the art department. We realize that there are folks that probably want to help out with art, and we gave honoraria out this year. So Kai's gonna tell you more about that, and it's really exciting work. Lots of things to build, so let's do some art too.
All right, thank you, Level. Yeah, my name is Kai. I am lucky enough to work with Burning Man's art department, and I'm going to very briefly go over some ways that you can get involved with building art this summer. So we'll just go over some quick places to look. The 4 basic ones that you've probably heard of already are Spark, the art listings page on burningman.org, ePlaya, and then of course social media, and we threw in a few extras as well. So Spark is our online classifieds. A good way to kind of navigate this page is either to check out the art installations category here, or you can post a listing and say that you're available to help out in your hometown, and an artist will check there and hopefully they can connect with you that way. We also have the 2021 art installations listing page on burningman.org. You may have heard we received an incredibly generous donation this year that has allowed us to fully fund the honoraria projects that we originally selected for 2020 and that were moved over to 2021. So you can find a list of those projects here. Many of them are building this year and displaying their art publicly in their own towns or neighborhoods, but many of them are also planning to bring it to Playa in 2022. So a good way to navigate this page, I would recommend, is doing the good old Command F, find, type in your city, your state, your country, then it'll take you to all of the listings that have that shown. You can either donate to a project directly, get to their Kickstarter, or you can find their website or their contact information. You can either contact them through their website, like so, many exclamation points, or you can just shoot them an email. And as you can see, we have many, many projects listed here. You can see their full descriptions, who the artist is, their photos, all that good stuff. Of course, there's always ePlaya. This is our online form. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with it. Some sections of interest related to art, maybe the event, art, and performance section, or you can go to show your support, see if there's any art projects that are fundraising for the year. Social media is obviously a big presence in most of our lives. Many burners have created Facebook groups that are super awesome. There are a ton to sift through. So these are 3 that we typically recommend our artists get involved with. These are listed in our artist manual or artist handbook. So this is a good place to start. As you just saw, Burning Man Hive is being rolled out, so you can go on here as well. I just heard that the Playa Art Builders Collective is a good place to begin, but you can also just use that search bar and start looking for something there. We are doing the virtual burn again this year, so if you're extremely tech savvy and you want to help an artist go digital this year, then you can go to Kindling. Click how to participate, scroll down to the bottom of that, and there's a super fun form for you to fill out. And the virtual burn team will connect you with some artists that could use your skills. All right, so if you can take a screenshot or pull out your phones, this is a great page. These are all artists that are receiving a grant from us this year who explicitly expressed interest in getting a crew together this summer to help build their project. So if you are local to any of these areas, these are great people to connect with. You'll see where they're from and how to get in touch with them here. All right, that's it. Don't forget to stay up to date with the JRS, check burningman.org and engage with your local regional communities. We found that most of the time artists do a lot of their work through word of mouth. So the more that you're connected with your local community, the more chance you have of getting involved with an art piece. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kai. Yeah, I think, the more you can actually even amplify these pieces and this work and get your theme camp community to pitch in for a weekend, those are all really appreciated by artists. Moving right along, we'll talk a little bit about virtual burns soon. That'll be kind of our last wrap up presentation. But right before that, we are going to bring up Field Trip, also known as Zach from Fly Ranch. You may have heard through just the internet and the news world, really exciting things happening on Fly Ranch. So Field Trip's here to tell you more. Take it away.
Thanks, Level. I just want to say from the start, I love theme camps. Theme camps are the communities that make up the Burning Man community. I hopped on at the diversity panel and just I've gotten chills a dozen times throughout this. So everything that's going on, awesome. Hi, I'm Zach. I'm Field Trip. I'm just going to talk to you briefly in a couple of minutes about what's going on with Fly Ranch, how people can get involved, and just offer some resources for how people can find out more. So I will share my screen. Looks to me like that's good. Thumbs up Level if it's working well. Awesome. So brief primer, if you have not heard or don't have any idea what Fly Ranch is, 3,800 acre ranch. It's about 12 miles north of where we produce the event. You can see it there. It crests the wall of High Playa, which is where Burning Man was held in 1997. It is a place where we do Burning Man type things. We've done 38 public open campouts. We have theme campouts. So instead of theme camps, we have sort of campouts, generally up to 100 people that are based around a theme or an idea. And it's been everything from the Green Camp Symposium to BWB to Writers Retreats for Women of Color to volunteer summits to big weird art builds. And we're doing stuff out here very much in Burning Man fashion. You know, we have toilets, but they compost. We have power, but they're renewable. We have art, but we don't take it down after a week. We have moop sweeps, but they often have a lot bigger stuff that we're dealing with. And, you know, it's pretty much just like Build Week all year round. It's the kind of stuff that we're doing to create a year-round rural site. We also have horses, which is great. The thing that I would love to talk to this group about is we've just wrapped up the finalist process for the Land Art Generator Initiative's 2020 Design Challenge, which was a program that we came together with this group that has been doing international design challenges. We selected our site and opened up for theme camps, artists, engineers, non-burners to look at the site and propose creative artistic solutions for power, water, food, shelter, and regeneration. We had a period that was open for about a year for people to submit, and we've just wrapped up the process of selecting those finalists, and we're getting ready to prototype builds on Fly Ranch, which is exciting. It's going to be a huge lift and lots of volunteer opportunities and excitement that'll be starting probably next year. For your knowledge, we took the 3,800 acres and we selected the most impacted sites for the primary sites for designing and constructing these prototypes. There's a lot, the vast majority of almost 3,000 acres of the property is not being touched by these. We want to preserve that. It's natural, it's beautiful, and again, the horses. This is some context of what the surrounding area looks like. It's not just Fly Ranch. We exist within that context of Fly Ranch and Black Rock City, but also Black Rock Station, which has massive infrastructure that we've used to produce the event for the last 15 years, as well as being 24 miles from Gerlach, Nevada, and that being a critical gateway to all these operations year round, including Black Rock City, which I'm really missing this year. But, and it is important to note that all of this land and all of the space is traditional Paiute land. And there's a lot that I can say about there's information on our website. Please check it out and understand the history of the place that we call home. We are not the first ones to do that. We listed a lot of design criteria. We gave people a ton of information about the property. I won't go into that too much because what I want to talk about is just showcase a couple of the projects that have come out of that and then tee up some next steps for how people can get involved. This is Lodgers. This was, you know, we went through a process of 800 people participating, 185 teams submitted proposals. We had 200 technical advisors who did 2,000 comments on all the proposals. Probably about 800 people were involved in this open source project of, hey, what are your ideas? Let's let the best ones for this moment filter up and then get funded in an honoraria type grant. So we had 33 jurors who shortlisted 52 projects, who eventually were able to select 10 finalists, and Lodgers, which is this one here, was the one that received the most votes. So those top 10, we're in the process of funding now with honoraria grants, working on kind of similar to Global Art Grant style proposal of being able to get things built, and then looking at what scale of functional prototypes we'll be able to build on site for a baseline of functional regenerative infrastructure for things beyond kind of the 100-person capacity that we've had to this point. It's beautiful. It's traditional thatching, script generated parametric design that also is a gathering space for both human and non-human inhabitants, which is great. This is Seed, symbiotic coevolution, which is sort of a campus center type design. It has solar and geothermal and passive cooling, composting, greenhouses. A lot of things are stacked inside this massive design. We're working with them now to see which components they want to be able to prototype and showcase on site and use Fly as a living laboratory for that. Solar Mountain, this is a work of art composed almost entirely of photovoltaic panels that create this mountainous landscape. And we're looking at what scale we'll iterate and build on that. As submitted, this is a massive design that probably would eclipse even our capacity to build on Fly Ranch. But what we can do, much like what we do in Black Rock City, is demonstrate it and showcase it and inspire people to take that and do something like that outside of that immediate space. One of my personal favorites, it uses coiled clay and the ponds that exist at Fly Ranch to be able to bring water and use it as a substrate for educational programming and native plants, and it's aesthetically very beautiful. This is a rammed earth design, which can be used as a bit of a gathering space, etc. Beautiful using the natural environment topography, geology that would be pulled out from other projects that need to dig perhaps down to use a foundation. So trying to create stacking systems like that. And this is just an adorable chicken coop. This wasn't one of the 10 finalists. It wasn't a shortlisted project. It was a shortlisted project. It was not one of the 10 finalists. I love it. It's adorable. They're like autonomous roving chicken coops, which I think are great. And we're gonna try and build anyways because it's just like adorable. And we're working to find community partners that can fund it and chickens. It's hilarious. This is a shade structure material that is a composite that is built through capturing CO2 through generators. So we in Northern Nevada at Black Rock Station, which I alluded to earlier, we have large diesel generators that power that ranch for a portion of the year. We're 25 miles from the grid. So we're working on capturing that material, putting it into a substrate mass, and then being able to create hardened shade and living structures out of that, which is like immediate carbon capture. Very cool and exciting. That's just a little bit what we've got going on. All of this information is at flyranch.org. Everything that we've been up to, all the projects that have happened on site, it's all there. It's a repository of a lot of great and awesome information. I would encourage you to check that out. I will say that there are a few things that are coming out that you can expect that are not necessarily land-based projects. One is that we have worked with Logi to create a Regenerate cooperative resource management game. So it's kind of like you can play as different roles and figure out how to manage resources regeneratively. And we've got 500 of these that we'll be gifting out to schools, the Paiute tribe, theme camps. If you're interested, flyranch@burningman.org. Let us know. We'd love to get these into people who can use them as a tool for sharing. We also were able to create a virtual tour of Fly Ranch. So if you can't make it up this summer, we'll be here. If you can't make it, we totally get it. There's a virtual tour if you want to see that. There's also a publication, a book that will be going out that walks through the process from how we walked through the site, identified what we were going to do, how we put the word out, how we got our jurors. It's a template for approaching a piece of land and saying, how do we get the community to get involved and do something inspiring on this that is also providing regenerative infrastructure. And there's also a field guide to renewable technologies, which is, as part of this process, it is all of the renewable technologies that one can use, everything from, algae harvesting to photovoltaics, and a great tool that theme camps, landowners, anyone can use. And I encourage you all to check that out. There are links again at flyranch.org. And I will just say, if you're coming out to Black Rock this year, we're out here. We have nature walks every weekend. Thousands of people have been on a nature walk. It's great. We do work weekends once or twice a month. Come out and get dirty and do Burning Man type stuff. It's Burn Week. And if you're interested in sticking around for a little bit longer, we have a program called the Guardians, where you can go through a training and be kind of quasi like GPE Earth Guardian, and come and have the hot springs and property to yourself and be a steward of that space and volunteer to do that. And it's an awesome way to experience the Black Rock Desert, particularly in a year when we aren't able to gather in Black Rock City.
Thanks, Zach. Quick question for you. Do you have to be VIP somehow to go to Fly and do Fly things?
Not at all. I mean, I'd like to think that we're all very important people. So in that sense, no, it just takes, an open willingness to get involved. It's all the front doors are there on the website. We would love to talk to theme camps about producing events or working on projects or being a base for pooling some of that infrastructure like Breedlove was talking about in terms of asset mapping and being able to provide a launch pad for stuff from there. flyranch@burningman.org or zach@burningman.org. Hit me up, let's play.
Thank you so much. Full disclosure, I just learned a lot. We're often so busy in all these pieces of the pie making our pieces of the pie that we don't see what our amazing colleagues are doing. So thank you, Zach, and the Fly Ranch team. Our last presentation is actually about the virtual burn this year. both about the burn and a volunteer team that is looking for some support. So I'll hand it over to Will Chase to tell you a little bit more.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm Will Chase. It's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to see everybody's faces on a Saturday and see everybody interested in participating. I am here to tell you today that if you are as disappointed as I am that we are not able to host the Burning Man event in Black Rock City, and you're upset because you're not able to get your interactive itch scratched this year, I'm here to tell you that in fact you can. There is a place where you can get your interaction on and get your theme camp activities, and that is the Virtual Burn 2021. Building on our success from the Multiverse 2020 last year when we were forced to cancel Black Rock City, we are building on those foundations and building 6 worlds this year that are bigger, better, and more fun and fascinating and whimsical than they were even last year. And that's saying something. So tickets are on sale right now. They're available on the Kindling website and right here. I want to give you a quick little tour of what we've got going on. So 6 worlds will be hosting Burning Man experiences during Virtual Burn Week, which is going to take place August 22nd through September 7th, 2021. So that's the normal build week and burn week. So we expect to see tens of thousands of participants from around the world. Anybody with an internet connection, whether you're on a desktop computer, a mobile device, or a virtual reality headset, you can tap into the Burning Man experience. So we're really raising the bar for radical inclusion right now, which is fantastic. So more people around the globe who normally can't get to Black Rock City can enjoy an authentic Burning Man experience. And speaking as someone who's a 20-year burner now, who's been immersed in this culture for all that time, very deeply, I'm here to tell you that these are authentic Burning Man experiences, like goosebump raising stuff on your arms, and you really get that authentic feeling of being those random experiences and connections and things that you see that you can't possibly believe. So these are really truly creative platforms that we're building for people that allow artists, mutant vehicles, theme camps, and everybody to bring their offering to a wider audience of burners and the burn curious, and really expand our culture out into the further globe. So I have a little teaser video I'd like to show. So Maestro, if you could cue that up for me and fire away, please. So those are the 6 worlds that we've got. It's a quick highlight overview, but I want to walk you through a few of them, but just to give you a sense of what you can expect. There's all different kinds of ways of experiencing Burning Man, and these worlds have created their own unique interpretation of them. BRCVR, for instance, am I still sharing? No, let me turn on my screen, sorry. So BRCVR is a virtual reality-based playa experience. Like I said, it recreates the Burning Man playa and has portals into worlds and camps and art installations, mutant vehicles, and you can ride on an art car, you can spin fire, you can do all this stuff and connect with other burners from around the world. Build-A-Burn is a 2D, more simple, desktop-based, computer-based experience where you can run your little avatar around a Burning Man, a simple Burning Man playa, and interact with other people through spatial video chat. It's kind of like wandering up on people and sitting around a burn barrel and hanging out. Super, super fun. Dusty Multiverse is a high fidelity 3D environment, which is just picture perfect, beautiful, and it has opportunities to run around the playa, customize your avatar, interact with other people through live voice and chat. Infinite Playa is built on the Unreal Engine, so it's like a gaming engine. It is photorealistic digital simulation of the playa, and it really is stunning. You really have to see this one to believe it. And again, you can also interact with fellow burners via in-world text and video chat as well, which is important. If you have less firepower on your computer and less technological savvy, you can always visit Sparkleverse. It's a great opportunity because it's a Zoom-based world where you can have interactive participatory experiences with other random people around the world. And that's probably one of the more powerful theme campy kind of feel places. So if you want to get interaction with other people, this is a really great one to check out and see if you want to do something there. Burn Week Global Livestream will be streaming content from burners around the world, video content from burners around the world throughout Burn Week, as well as live streaming the Man Burn. And all of these worlds will streaming the Temple Burn and the Man Burn by the time on Saturday and Sunday night of normal Burn Week. So if you're interested in participating, we have a very simple page here, how to participate. And if you visit this page, you'll learn all the different needs that each of the worlds is requiring. Just like in Black Rock City, these worlds are built by participants and for participants. It has that same creative platform feel as Black Rock City does. So we encourage you to participate and also to promote this to your networks and get folks aware of that these are out here. Have people explore them, check them out, and decide what world they want to play in or worlds they want to play in. There's no reason why you should do just one. So if you want to participate, you can start with this very simple form. It tells you about how to bring your project, how to bring your tech skills, how to bring an activity like an event or a performance, and also how to be just a general volunteer and what kind of help the worlds need. So you can select what kind of thing you want to bring, which worlds you want to bring it to, and then once you submit that, the worlds will get back in touch with you and talk you through about how to imagine and reinvent your theme camp into their particular worlds and offer the interactivity and the participation that you normally do in Black Rock City and have all the same amount of fun during virtual Burn Week as you would during in real life Burn Week. As sad as we are to not be dusty, we'll at least be able to be digitally dusty this year. So that's that. You can visit the Kindling website, click on the virtual Burn link there, and you'll find all this information, including all the participation forms and stuff. And then come join us and be sure, again, participate and promote, and we'll send you information and a social media kit to help promote to your theme camp and to your network, if you would, to share the word about this, because we're really doing as much organic storytelling around this to try and share the word rather than do sort of traditional marketing. But we want the world to know about this, the more the better. So that is Virtual Burn, and thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Will. Yeah, I also want to acknowledge that there's folks in this room that helped build your camp in those spaces last year. I know Celestial Bodies was able to kind of create your own virtual world in each of the spaces. So yeah, thank you for participating in that. And hopefully it shows that, you know, we can translate these experiences online too. And I was definitely sold. I did not think you could translate the magic. And yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I'm going to bring up Tranquility to do one last announcement about how to also participate in virtual burns in case you don't want to design anything but still want to support. Tranquility.
Thanks, Level. You're right. Most of us didn't know we were going to be hosting meetings almost exclusively online, going to school virtually, or celebrating special occasions in these Brady Bunch boxes. But there were visionaries among you who said, hey, let's keep connected. Let's host burns virtually. You said, let's create and burn a virtual temple. We can make offerings, we can build our art, and we can build our camps. Again, my name is Tranquility. I'm a ranger, and I'm a co-lead with VEST, Virtual Event Support Team. We are a group of volunteers made up of regional and Black Rock Rangers, harm reduction volunteers, Playa Info volunteers, and temple guardians. The group was born out of the idea to keep connecting and gifting our service to the community. We know it's been a challenging year, and as Nexus mentioned earlier, why not add to our safety kits emotional support? We've been supporting virtual regional burns throughout the past year, and we'll be in all of the virtual experiences again this year. If joining a world is too much, we will have a direct link to our Zoom rooms via the Kindling website, where you can come in face-to-face for support, information, acculturation, troubleshooting, mediation, or just to talk to someone. If face-to-face isn't your thing, we also have the ability to just chat with you via text. We're recruiting volunteers, and for more information, please go to our site, our webpage on Kindling's website, and also please join us later in the breakout firekeeping, conflict management, and for a conflicted world at 3 p.m. Pacific. Back to you, Level.
Thanks so much, Tranquility. I don't know about you all, but I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed the way that when you get in Black Rock City, you're like, oh my God, there's so much happening, because there's still so much happening within our burner culture. We are running over time, so I'm gonna keep my closing short. This wraps up the plenary portion of our Camp Symposium. We have 2 breakout sessions happening this afternoon. I wanna thank really quickly before we hop off, the camp support team again. We had over a dozen producers of these breakout sessions and the plenary to pull this together. I want to thank all of our speakers who were able to share their wealth of knowledge with us, and will do so more in the afternoon. I also want to thank our tech support people. They're listed here. And I want to also give major appreciations for kind of the core team to pull this together. So Epiphany is one of them. Justin, Paradox is another, and Papa Bear, Placer. All of you have contributed so much to make this event go successfully. Also a major appreciation for Heist and Devin for making this run really smooth. I want to close out with a video that my partner made in 2013. Just the way the chills we got earlier from the build video, this one gives me chills because he gets lots of hugs through it. So we'll set that off to play. Hopefully you can grab a snack or kind of take care of yourself before the next breakout, and we will wrap it up with the video. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate you all being here today. We'll see you in the breakouts.
I'm sure she's waiting out for me for the long haul. The chair is so weird and the wheels are flowing. It could shoot a heart, it could change it. I'm sure she's waiting out for me for the long.
All right, everyone. We'll see you at the breakouts, and also in the lobby if you want to hang out there. Thank you very much. We'll see you all later.